got the Triforce and it feels right. Like Bowser, you can listen all night, singing Peaches until the sunlight. Summer shoots her beam so bright. Master Hand always brings a fight. Catch 'em all and use that fire blast. Put the soul back to visit your past. Welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast episode 11. How you guys all doing? We got a full show here for you guys. No Andres restarted this week. Congratulations to his brother getting married. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You won't see him for a couple weeks. That's all right. He'll be back before the end of the month. We have a pack show. I want to make sure that I give special thanks to N64 Josh. He stepped in last moment today to claim that Andres restart spot. So thank you, man.
So good to be here.
That's all right. You want to let people know who the hell you are and what you got going on?
I am N64 Josh. I do a lot of Nintendo content, whether it be on TikTok or YouTube, and a lot of podcasting as well. I host a Nintendo Powercast and pretty much stream Mario Kart daily on TikTok if you guys want to get involved with the Kart Club.
Ooh. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I saw one of your most recent videos. I don't know. You were going up against that guy with the 61,000 rating.
Oh yeah. It almost, when you play the game's what, almost 10 years old, right? You play it long enough, you make content around it. Like I'm almost like it almost felt like these guys knew I was making a video because they started targeting me at one point. Like they were together, kind of just trolling me. So I don't know. I had some fun with it though. I'm just trying to get the VR up to 99,000 with the pipe frame and the standard wheels. So, because I can't do the meta. It just feels wrong to drive a teddy bear around in Mario Kart. So,
absolutely. Let's see. We got Favlam is back. How's it going, man?
Howdy. Welcome. Hi, everybody. It's good to be back as always. We love Nintendo. We love all that stuff. It's been good. New York was fun. Love New York.
Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's almost at 1,000 subs. Let's go.
Oh yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Link down below. Go subscribe.
I've been posting a lot more frequently too. So I have a video coming up about the best Nintendo Direct during the Switch era. So look out for that.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Then we have Nintendo Talk back in the house. How's it going, buddy?
What is up, guys? Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Nintendo Talk. I have a brand new podcast. Only audio versions. It is called the Slow Burn Podcast. It is like cozy game farming podcast.
Explains why I haven't been invited.
We did 2 episodes, man. I also got a brand new console. I've never even touched this thing before. I got a Dreamcast. And
Nice.
Oh my god, dude. I feel like I'm discovering a whole part of gaming that I just skipped over me, man. I bought a modded one, so it has every game on it, but it is amazing.
Right in time for the 25th anniversary. It's coming up here.
I'm jealous. You got a little Thunderstash Gaming. How's it going, buddy?
Excellent. I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me. As always, I'm excited to be here. A lot of great topics today.
Dude, every time you're on, I always wonder what shirt he's going to wear. And today we got the Double Dragon.
Well, you guys know they just announced yesterday they're making a new 3D Double Dragon. So, gotta represent.
Oh, really? That's exciting.
Yeah, 3 Double Dragons in the last 3 years.
Whoa! Let's go. On
the new Call of Duty.
So would that make it like 6 dragons or?
Yeah, basically.
I knew that would hit with the dads in the group.
Of course, we got Eric Moore. Hello. But you can go flip your camera if you want. So you just have to walk either right way.
Oh. I can't.
I totally forgot. It's on that other computer. Remember?
Yeah.
Hit the setting, then unmirror the camera. Anyways.
Yeah,
it's a little wonky setup because we got to use cell phones for his camera. That's why he looks all nice and red. Like I don't know. That's the iPhone doing its beautification of your face. Apparently, it's saying your face is so ugly it needs to make it red. You need to become a cherry to be appealing. How you guys doing? I'm Nintendo Prime. You guys know what's up at this point. I want to do a shout out to our audio listeners. We've only had 10 episodes, obviously, put up audio wise, and we have now had 3 straight episodes cross 100 listens audio wise. So we're growing on the audio side, which is pretty exciting. Shout out to N64 Josh for the tip on where I should be uploading my podcast to. That made a big difference on actually growing instead of not doing anything.
Oh.
Yeah, we're about
love that.
We're about to cross 1,000 listens, so that's awesome. We'll just keep it going, and hopefully, 10 episodes from now, we're talking about 200 and then 300. We just keep growing from there. We'll see what happens. Also, shout out to all of you guys watching. Since we started this podcast, we barely made it, but we have not had a single episode below 3,000 live views. So thank you so much for that. We barely made it on this last episode. We'll see what happens today. I guess we got to have more interesting topics. I guess I'm sucking. I don't know. Last week was my return to picking topics, and apparently people didn't like my topics. Just let Thunderstash take over every time. The 1 week he ran it, dude, views were popping. So I guess I'm the problem. Speaking of being the problem, I guess we can get into our topic roulette. So we got our 4 topics with our 3 hosts. So I'll go first since I probably have to take 2 topics. Let's go with oh, geez. What topic looks fun to me? They all look fun to me. Like Nintendo Talk, are you ready to talk about a horror game today?
Yeah, I don't like that disrespect, man. I play plenty of horror games, okay? Just because I play these cutesy games.
Name one.
Resident Evil.
Oh.
I'll give it to him.
Which one you say? I don't know if they're all considered horror.
Ju-on on the Wii. What you know about Ju-on on the Wii?
Ju-on. You notice he's got to go like really old school.
Cursed Mountain. What are you talking about? Silent Hill.
Okay.
There's ghosts in AC after like 3 a.m., right? That's
There's a ghost in AC.
There you go.
Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah, so obviously we'll get that announcement from Nintendo today, but I'm not going to take that one. I feel like that's an easy one. I'm the Zelda guy. I'll go with the Zelda debate about the new versus classic, given that's been raging again.
It's wild.
For some weird reasons this time, and it's not just about Echoes of Wisdom this time. Let's go to, how about Eric? What do you want to take?
I'll take the easy topic, the non-gamer.
I don't know. What?
I'll take the announcement of what is it?
Emio? I don't know. I think it's Emio. But okay, cool. The one I
actually did watch the trailer.
So. Oh my gosh, you can handle 15 seconds?
I did. Wait. There's a shot in there at me somewhere in there.
Thunderstash, what are you gonna take?
I think I will take. What does this era mean to me of Nintendo?
There we go. Special reason why there's a topic this week. We'll bring that up during the thing. We got a nice little graphic to show you guys. All right. And I guess that leaves me with the whole GameCube coming to NSO stuff and why that has become a topic over the last week of discussion because of some fact-based findings that we don't really know if it means anything, but we'll find out, won't we? So I guess we'll start with the first topic that I chose, and that was the Zelda debate on the new versus classic. So over the last few days, I don't know what the heck's going on, but new Zelda versus old Zelda keeps coming up, and people are really like getting very passionate about these discussions, as Zelda fans tend to do. And while a lot of this booted up again after Echoes of Wisdom was announced, which is like another top-down classic Zelda game, but it stars Zelda, and so it's different and stuff like that. What's really making it swell right now is there are a lot of Zelda fans that just don't like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Just straight up think the games are gutter trash. Not even good games, let alone good Zelda games. And they're really mad that this is like the future of the series. And they think that, the classic 3D Zelda games, like your Twilight Princesses, your Wind Waker, your Ocarina of Times, that these games should still be made instead of the new direction it's going in. And because they kind of feel like, well, they might keep the classic style around, but maybe only with top down, depending on what happens here with Echoes of Wisdom. They really want that old school feeling back. And this has led to lots of debates because a lot of Zelda fans going, what are you talking about? Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom are masterpieces. It's clearly like where the series should go. Look at the sales. They're not going to go backwards. By the way, we already know they're not going to go backwards because the producer of the Zelda series literally said they're not going to, which, again, Nintendo's a business. you see 50 million sales in 2 games, and you go, yeah, that's the direction we're going to keep going in. We're not going to go back to not being able to sell 10 million copies. That being said, I think a huge part of the reason this debate happens is the same thing that happened with side-scrolling Mario for a while. We had a huge gap in side-scrolling Mario for a bit before the new Super Mario Bros. Games came back, and those exploded because people just missed it. It was gone long enough to miss it. And it takes so long to make Zelda games. Like, we haven't had a traditional 3D Zelda game since Skyward Sword in 2011. So that's 13 years. And I think what's happening after 2 non-traditional, we call them non-traditional, they're probably the future of traditional Zelda, but I think it's just they're missing it, and they're missing it a lot. And Nintendo hasn't really remade or remastered or brought back a lot of the old 3D Zelda games beyond Skyward Sword HD. They did the 60 FPS thing there, but we didn't get an Ocarina of Time remake, at least not yet, or Majora's Mask. We didn't get the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And I think if those games would have came back, maybe people wouldn't be so fussy. But I think people are kind of feeling like, well, maybe Nintendo doesn't want to bring these games back because, again, it's the old way. They don't want to introduce new fans to the old way. They want to keep pushing the new way. And the only reason Skyward Sword came back is because it's like Al Numa's baby and he's really mad it didn't sell well. Could be the reason. Yeah. Don't really know. But I find it quite fascinating because obviously Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are my favorite Zelda games of all time. And I've played every single one of them, all the side games, all the games that don't count, like the CDI ones. I even beat all of those one time. Even BS Zelda, although I didn't get to play it back in its heyday. I did play a fan modded version just so I could see what it was about anyways. It wasn't too crazy. The craziness would have been if I played it back in the day on the Satellaview and stuff. But anyways, the point is that I love all the Zelda games. There's only one that I really don't like, and it's fine. We're not going to get into that debate. But how do you guys feel about like the new games versus the classic? Like, which style do you prefer? Are you a little upset that like, hey, we're not really going to get that dungeon crawling Twilight Princess again? Like, that's just not the future of Zelda. Or are you kind of cool with the way things are going?
So I was mentioning this right before we started podcasting, streaming. I have seen this sentiment grow on YouTube. Not just, there was one video essay in particular I liked. The creator's called Skitty Bitty. If you guys in the chat want to look it up, it's a great video essay. It's 3 hours long, but I mean, hey, it's a video essay, right? But there's another one by this guy named Nayru Naru, I think is how you say it, about Zelda's story. And so, I bring up both videos because I think what people are struggling with, at least in terms of Tears of the Kingdom, especially, is that the story, it didn't quite execute well. There were parts where the highs were super high and they were great, but then there's parts where the story is a bit fragmented, or it even has the possibility to, because of the open world nature of it, to be fragmented. And I think that, so that's where I think the hunger of that traditional Zelda comes from. I think people put up with it more with Breath of the Wild because they were like, it's a new direction and it's so successful. It executes the story that it's trying to accomplish in a very thoughtful and well-done way. It's it takes place in the past. It's the point is it's supposed to be this fragmented, like, mystery that you're figuring out. But in Tears of the Kingdom, it feels more like the traditional Zelda story where it's like, there's the princess is gone or in peril somehow, and you're trying to stop Ganon. And are we spoiler casting for this or no?
You're good. We're way past.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure. So,
beat the game. Yes.
Especially with, so spoilers alert for anyone listening who may not have played it. In Tears of the Kingdom, the story is delivered through a similar thing that the memories were in Breath of the Wild, where you have the tears or the dragon tears, where you get the visions of the past where Zelda is taken to at the beginning of the game, and where you eventually find out, oh hey, the dragon is Zelda, and the light dragon that's flying around. And so that story can be a bit fragmented, though. You can sometimes see one of the really important scenes like from the get-go because of the nature of the way that the story is laid out, and that there's, I think it's the hieroglyphs or the mono, I forget what that's called, something glyphs. But all that to say, I think Tears of the Kingdom didn't quite execute its story very well because there's also a lot of plot holes in Tears of the Kingdom when you sit and think about it. Like, where's the Sheikah technology? Where do the Divine Beasts go? Why is the evil Zelda plot there to begin with for it to not it kind of sort of leads the player to have incentive to go to these places, but it really doesn't. There's just things where the story doesn't quite come together as masterfully as it did in every Zelda prior. That's all I'm trying to say. And I think that's where this hunger for a traditional Zelda is coming from.
I don't think it's just the story though, because I think it's obvious Nintendo's still trying to figure out how to tell a good story in an open world setting. Breath of the Wild was obviously memory based. They still want memories again, which means things can be out of order, which means
yes, of course,
didn't matter as much in Breath of the Wild because you were sort of just trying to remember what happened to you 100 years ago. Didn't really affect today, whereas the story that you're being told in Tears of the Kingdom massively affects today. So as an example, when you find out that that's a puppet Zelda, well, suddenly it kind of ruins a lot of what I think they're trying to do there, because they're trying to get the player to think it actually is Zelda in each of those territories. And once you realize it's not, and you figure that out in the story, it's like, oh, well, now why do they keep pretending? Like, it's just that. And obviously, the Zelda dragon thing, like you can kind of figure out that Zelda's the dragon. But it's an interesting situation, even thinking about that portion of it, because as you figure out that she's the dragon, I think Nintendo just needs they're still sorting this out. And I think what's going to be nice for the next Zelda game is just they're going to get away from the memory system. I'm pretty sure that was an isolated thing to these two games, and they're going to get away from it always being something in the past that we have to go visit. And they need to find a way to tell an organic story. This is one thing that I feel like they should learn from other open world games, how to tell a more organic story. Even if you find out a little piece here that maybe you shouldn't know yet, it doesn't have to ruin other parts of the game. But the arguments I'm listening to, and I watch people complain about the modern games, isn't really even the story. Like, some people are even mad about Tears of the Kingdom, retcons a huge chunk of Zelda lore. Which is fine. That's an argument for a time. Maybe it doesn't retcon. Maybe there's more split timelines. This is the Zelda series. They'll just make sure.
The argument I've heard, not to dig into nuance of that, the argument I've heard about that is that in the grand scheme of the Zelda timeline, because since Breath of the Wild it's like the far right end of it, the far end of the cycle, and so what I hear with Tears of the Kingdom is it's a sequel, so it's like a new thing. It doesn't, it's like, okay, it's even further to the right, Anyways, so so I find that interesting if people bring that up. Also, Zelda it's just a mess to begin with. But
a lot of the complaints I'm seeing aren't even about the story, although story's a big thing, but story in the end is not why most people end up playing Zelda. They miss traditional dungeons.
That's true.
They miss linear progression. They miss dungeon items. Basically, the arguments people are saying is that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, not just Tears of the Kingdom, just aren't Zelda games. They're just like a generic open world game with the Zelda attached to it. If it didn't have Zelda attached to it, no one would care. So anyone got some thoughts on that?
How would you guys feel if the story that was in Tears of the Kingdom was the story that was in Breath of the Wild? And would that have made Breath of the Wild a little bit better? Because I feel like the lack of what felt like a lack of a villain, right? And it just kind of wasn't there. You were chasing these just essentially machines. The boss fights were kind of lackluster in Breath of the Wild. It was like I'm fighting the same thing over and over again. And actually having Ganon in Tears of the Kingdom, that kind of made it get that feeling. I mean, I can kind of understand where people are going with this. I think also the building takes away from the immersion of it being a Zelda game. Because all of a sudden I'm playing Minecraft, or I'm playing a Lego game or something, or I'm playing Fortnite, and I jump back in. I haven't beat it, Tears of the Kingdom yet. I don't even know how far along I am. I've been having a great time with it, but when I came back to it, I forgot building was a thing, and I was trying to play it more just like a traditional RPG, if you will. And then eventually hit a point where I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I have to make rockets and stuff if I want to go to certain areas and whatnot. And then at that point, I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a cool mechanic, and I'm not saying I like dislike it, but when it comes to a Zelda game itself, I'm kind of like, Tears of the Kingdom felt like it was like 3/4 of the way to being like more of a traditional Zelda game, as far as like, you know, having story, having a dungeon-esque, you know, having boss fights that were like more engaging, more fun, like memorable at least. And then but then again, I think the building, like, you've got this like super gritty dark, like that opening sequence, and now I'm using green goo to keep 2x4s together, and it's just kind of like a little bit jarring. I think I'd never really, until we started talking about it, I hadn't really given it much thought in that regards, but as we're kind of tearing this apart a little bit, I'm like, I think if they leaned way into like the grittiness and made it almost a little more like a Skyrim or something along those lines, but then, you know, give it like the hook shot and give us some of those things that make the traditional Zelda games what they were. Maybe they could remedy some of that and bring some of those people that are so, because I mean, personally, I don't want to go back to linear. It's difficult because if we played like a Link Between Worlds, that felt strange, being able to buy all the power-ups ahead of time and then just be able to go and do whatever you wanted. But it was still a good time. But I kind of missed that like, there was something about like, I can see that spot, but I can't get to it until I get the hook shot, or until I get the bow and arrow, or until, you know, whatever that I think it was a little dopamine hit in the Zelda games. But it's also old, like that's dated, you know, gameplay loops. Like, it's just dated at this point. So it's like it's
so popular. Like, clearly Nintendo how more people want to do.
Yeah. So I think it's the shtick. If they can find the shtick that really works, and I feel like Breath of the Wild was a little bit better with the Sheikah Slate, then like, I think the building is fun, but like we rarely see those viral videos on like Twitter of somebody like, you know, using stasis and then jumping and launching and, you know, all the cool stuff that we were like retweeting and talking about. It's like, you know, somebody built a couple robots that were walking around, and like, you know, there was some laser beams and stuff like that. But like, it also seemed like that's way, like, you got to really have like an engineering mind to make some of that stuff work.
Yeah. That was a common complaint I heard, was the building. Like, sometimes it was like the puzzles were too complicated because they expected you to build like too much in some puzzles. Yeah, I think to your point of like Breath of the Wild, I think the story was executed a little bit better in Breath of the Wild. I think there were parts of it, like you were saying, like the Divine Beasts definitely were kind of lackluster. They could have had a little more depth to them than they were. But I think if they were more linear elements to Tears of the Kingdom, kind of like you see in, like, if we kind of like you see in Link to the Past or Link Between Worlds, right? Where it's like sections of the game are technically open world. You can do them in any order you want, but then eventually, the depths open up, or the skylines, you know, like, it's like, oh, I completed the down dungeons. Oh, there's stuff in the sky now, you know, stuff like that would have been very interesting. I just can't help but think, I think as much as, you know, the Tears of the Kingdom celebrates like the player's choice and the player doing all these things, and I think it almost sometimes gives the player too much choice, and it's to its detriment, both in the story and in gameplay, because like some linearity to it would have, I think, in like more fleshed out dungeons, and like, because I would say like there's only really 2 dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom specifically. I would say the sky, the water area was just a joke. The flying area was definitely fun and good, but I think it, again, could have had better stuff, more things about it. I like the Goron place a lot, but like you're saying, Josh, you could use your Zonai stuff and just motorbike around and just go straight to the boss. Yeah. And the only one that's like super memorable to me, honestly, was the flying one, but that's just because of the boss fight. And then the temple in the desert is like amazing, just because that felt like a traditional ass Zelda
It
dungeon.
forced
You're doing
you.
a light puzzle. You're doing
Forced
all.
you to play it traditionally. So.
Yeah. That was, and if they did more of that with the other dungeons, or I mean, you could even retcon. You could keep everything that's in Tears of the Kingdom, and you could retcon like the power in here is so overwhelming. Your Sheikah slate's like, or what Zonai arm is fucked up. You can only use X powers in this. You know what I mean? Like that would have been really cool. And then you put restrictions on the player that they have to think outside the box.
Like in every
what's the shrines? Yeah, what's the reverse?
You can't use your shit in the shrines most of the time. Yeah.
You gotta love Zelda fans, because Zelda fans are guaranteed a game every year. Literally guaranteed a game every year. They get spin-offs, and every 5 to 6 years, you get an absolute masterpiece from the Zelda team, which is probably the best team Nintendo has, if I'm being honest.
1000%.
And like the major complaints that I'm hearing is Nintendo, the chances that they took. They took this IP and made it open world. They did new crafting elements, and there's like still complaints. I don't get it. Like I get comparing the open world to the linear, but saying that Breath of the Wild is a bad game or Tears of the Kingdom, it's just a wrong opinion. It's just there's little things that we can all nitpick, but as a whole, that's a crazy take.
I would say saying it is Breath of the Wild is one thing, but saying Tears of the Kingdom is a bad game, I think, is a understandable opinion or an understandable take.
As a sequel,
yes. Gameplay loop, I love Tears of the Kingdom. It's great, but but I can understand why people would grow tired of it and whatnot. And and we can still look at masterpieces in the industry and in media. Sorry, I cut you off, Nate. I apologize. I see you frustrated over there. And we can still be critical of it. So I don't know. Oh, you're getting mad at me. I apologize. He's getting mad at my take. I think we can still be critical of masterpieces though, and nitpick the things, I don't know. And it's not to say that they need to throw it all away and it's bad. It's just,
So does the Zelda fan base, do they want like to be like confined in like this one path that you can go down? Because that wasn't that a lot of like the limits of the console.
Because they know what it wants.
Yeah, like, honestly, I would say it is a bit overblown. I would say it is slightly overblown.
And we're still getting linear games,
and it's based in nostalgia. To be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, we're getting linear games, but some of the argument is that, well, yeah, but Echoes of Wisdom is still not traditional because it's Zelda and she doesn't swing a sword. And
it's the sentiment comes partly from people they want to play Wind Waker again. They want to play
Twilight Princess.
They want to play Ocarina of Time. They want to play the game that they grew up with, or something that feeds that nostalgia, which again I sympathize with. But that's when it gets to that point in the argument. That's where I'm like, okay, just give us the remasters.
I love when Nintendo takes chances and gives us little sides.
I do too.
I also think that that we need to be a little fair to the Zelda team, because this Zelda team, yes, Zelda was originally an open world game. Well known. It was one of the earliest open world games of all time. Might even be the first. I'd have to go back and look. So returning to open world, this team's completely different from that team back then. And this was their first take at it ever in a 3D game, really, with Breath of the Wild. And they followed it up with a sequel, because originally the sequel was just, we had so many ideas for DLC. Let's just do a whole sequel. And that's fine. But I think we also need to be fair to them, because I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is also set with the same restrictions of what they felt like in Breath of the Wild. Like they did the memory thing, so it kind of felt like, well, we got to do the memory thing again in a new way. That this happened and this happened. Oh, we're not going to explain this. We're not going to explain that. By the way, Zelda, as much as I've been a Zelda theorist and a timeline person for a long time, the storytelling has never been the Zelda team's strong suit. There's plot holes in every damn game. Every damn game has a billion plot holes. So like we could nitpick about the plot holes in Tears of the Kingdom as a sequel, and it's like, okay, well, there's plot holes in Majora's Mask as a sequel. Massive plot holes in Zelda 2 as a sequel. So like they're just not very good at telling. They're good at telling isolated stories, but not like ones that actually line up very well together. But my thing has never really been the issue with the stories. I think that we need to let the Zelda team grow and evolve. They've been stuck in this same Hyrule that they built, over a decade ago. In development wise anyways, And now they finally get free of whatever they were doing here and truly build a new world, truly build a new Zelda, really for the second time ever from the ground up for an open world game. Like, I think about all the current open worlds where they are. Like, if you even go back to like the very first Witcher game, which was open world, dude, that game sucks compared to Witcher 3. It's a piece of shit compared to Witcher 3. I'll just say it out loud. I beat the game, but that's where they started. And then they got all the way up to The Witcher 3. And then eventually now all the lessons from that led to them having, even though a rough launch, a pretty solid game today in Cyberpunk. So I think it's like, hey, this team, Breath of the Wild was their first foray, and then they never really left that for the second one. Now they're leaving that. And now they get to do everything again from the ground up. It might not even be in Hyrule. We don't know what they're going to do. In the end, they get to do a whole new Link, a whole new Zelda. They get to take the lessons learned, the feedback they keep saying they're listening to, and Tears of the Kingdom showed that they were listening. Just even what they did with the dungeons was really listening to the feedback from the players. So they're hearing the feedback. But if the feedback you guys are trying to put out there is we want traditional Zelda, that's not going to happen. That I can tell you. They already told us it's not going to happen. And I think for some fans that are really clinging to those old games, I think they're having a hard time accepting that Nintendo just isn't going to do it anymore. And look, I understand they might still do it with the top-down ones. We don't know. Again, Echoes of Wisdom's not even here. So we can't even talk about how traditional that is yet because we don't know. But it's interesting thinking about it because I think it's hard to let go of things you love when series evolve. And this has happened several times with so many different franchises that have evolved, and some of them evolved in bad ways, and the series ends up dying. And even if you don't like what Breath of the Wild is and don't like what Tears of the Kingdom is, and you decide I'm putting my foot in the ground, I'm never buying an open world Zelda again, well, that's okay. The Zelda fan base had never grown more than 10 million strong in the past, and now they have a fan base of 30 million plus. They can probably do without a few million of your sales because they have 15 plus million other people that are going to buy it. And if they build something that appeals to now with a brand new world on a brand new system, they can appeal to a completely new audience that's never played Zelda before, a whole new generation of gamers. So Nintendo looks at it from a business perspective, like, yeah, we're not going backwards. It is what it is. Like, why would we ever want to make a Zelda that doesn't appeal as much? But I do think they're listening. And I think the biggest thing they're listening to, like feedback on the story. They've definitely heard a lot of feedback on that front. I've heard a lot of feedback on, hey, you did some cool things with the dungeons. Just keep taking it further. Keep advancing that. Keep finding ways to do it. Hey, it was cool that we could solve the dungeons in any way, but one of our favorite dungeons was the one that we couldn't necessarily do that with. So maybe find a way to restrict us, or like some of people's favorite shrines. They stripped away all your shit. You had nothing, and you had to figure it the hell out. Part of the reason it worked was because it was so out of place. It felt like, whoa, wait a second, I didn't expect that. Same thing with that with the dungeon in the desert. Like, yeah, the reason it did feel so great is because it was significantly different from the other dungeons. Maybe make each dungeon like that, where it feels significantly different in some way that it's just unexpected. So I think there's a lot of things they're going to learn from it. But I do think a lot of you classic fans, again, I'm one of them, but with Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild being my favorite ones in the series, again, you guys don't think after that it's Zelda 2. So I go real old school with my love of traditional Zelda.
Yeah.
I just go, I know it's hard to let go, but they ain't going to give you what you want. If you want, the most you can hope for is that they remake the old ones, because Nintendo's not going to let go of this audience by going back to a type of Zelda that this isn't Nintendo's first big mega successful system, guys. They had 150 million DSs sell. They had 100 plus million Wiis. They had like 90 million Game Boys, or 118 million because they count them all together. And it's like, and none of those Zelda games were able to cross 10 million in sales. None of them. Mario did 46 million on the NES. Like, but they've never been able to get Zelda to the level it's at now, and they did it doing it this way. They're not going to go backwards. The most we can hope is that they learn from the way that all these other companies have had decades to learn how to make open world games work. You go back and play the original Elder Scrolls. Yeah, Skyrim's widely considered better than the original Elder Scrolls because they had time to learn. This Zelda team is at the beginning of that learning curve. Now they get to their next big grand. Like, let's just let them evolve. Let's let them figure it out. Because in the end, both games were critically acclaimed. One won Game of the Year. One was runner-up to Game of the Year, and one Best Action Adventure. They clearly are doing something right. It just might not be what you want. And that's my argument, is just telling people, I know it's hard to let go and accept that era might be over. Man, that era existed for like 35 years.
But to an extent, it may not be. Because I'm thinking with this Echoes of Wisdom, what they might be doing is taking the Zelda line that route, but leaving the Legend of Zelda, like the new open worlds, things like that. But Zelda's line, where Zelda's the main character, they're going to bring it back to kind of those old school.
Well, that's still not That's still not a 3D Zelda game. People are talking about missing Twilight Princess and Wind Waker.
I realize that, but I mean, that's probably what they're going to start doing with the more Zelda playable games. Is kind of bring those types of things back, so you can have your old traditional Zeldas.
But then people will say it's not traditional because Link was the lead.
I realize that
you can't. These are the fans you can't make happy,
right?
It's either you make us a Twilight Princess 2, or we're not happy.
Pull a stick out of your ass, and if you like the game, you like the game. It shouldn't matter who
I will note that I think Nintendo will always pull from its past. It will always bring something in.
Yeah.
And for those, by the way, for those people that don't like the building in Tears of the Kingdom, they already said that's not coming back. So like very much they said all these abilities were isolated to that game. These aren't like things that come forward. So it'll always be something new. Like, hey, we didn't have building in Breath of the Wild. We had different abilities there. And those abilities stayed in that game. These abilities will stay in this game. And who knows if they'll have abilities. Who knows if it'll be magic spells. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? I have no idea. They clearly aren't afraid of magic. Hello, Echoes of Wisdom. Of course, Zelda's always been kind of magic.
I also heard a lot of people say, like, I think they're afraid that they're just going to continue to use this same map. They're not going to do that. No. It was only for these 2 games. So
yeah, no, they literally said it wouldn't be the same map.
There will be riots.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Oh my God.
There's another layer now.
By the way, I love this map. It's amazing. But okay, it's been 2 in a row.
We're going to space and we're going to the core.
Yeah.
If it's Hyrule again, make it at least a new Hyrule.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, just looking at sales numbers real quick though, like Link's Awakening and Skyward Sword together barely broke 10 million on the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That says something. I mean, to their investors, especially.
Let's drag this over to Thunderstash. You've been real quiet. What are your thoughts on all this? I got a few super chats I want to bring up as well after you're done.
Well, I thought about this earlier, and it's pretty easy. Like for me, right? I don't prefer one over the other. The first game I ever bought when I was a kid, was back in '89, was the first Zelda. So I've played them all. Zelda's really important to me, like everybody. I have tons of different fan games. I got physical versions of the actual fan games. You could say the ROM hacks. Some of them are very good. Huge Zelda fan. But I prefer like a steady diet of 2D and 3D outings. And we've talked about this on previous podcasts as well. I think we're going to be in a world where that's what we do get. We're going to get 2D Zeldas. I mean, the proof is there. We got Link's Awakening. Now we have Zelda coming out here in September. But I think it's going to be a little different, right? I thought about it, and we still have plenty of traditional 2D Zelda games that you could remake. And we still have a few traditional 3D Zelda games left to be remade. We've received one 3D Zelda remake for this entire generation, Skyward Sword. And that's going off the idea that we're not going to get Wind Waker or Twilight Princess on Switch 1. Obviously, who knows what's going on there? We'll never know until it actually happens. But we only got one for this whole generation, which the pacing on that could work out really well. Because when it comes to like the future of Zelda, I think we're going to continue to go down the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom road we're currently on. But I do think Nintendo hears its fans, and I would not at all be surprised if fan feedback finds its way into the new flagship Zelda title on Switch 2. So I think the current open world structure, that is the flagship Zelda. That's the one that's going to sell the most. And as we know, we talked about it earlier too, is that shareholders have a lot of say. And the sales data has a way of predicting the future of what you're going to be developing. If Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are by far the best selling Zelda games of all time, you can't abandon that path. You can't. It's malpractice, actually. You truly cannot. It's business malpractice. You can't do that. Nintendo being some deep shit, honestly, with their shareholders. So, well, what I could see is Nintendo adding more dungeons, maybe some more traditional aspects to it. I think I could see them adding more boss fights. I could even see them making some changes, who knows, to the weaponry, the armor system, by adding maybe some more RPG elements to it. I was thinking about Elden Ring, and it's like, I think they could borrow some stuff from there. Obviously, Nintendo, they're their own company and they come up with their own ideas, but you always look at what other people are doing and see what you can borrow and implement in your own way into your game. And I think there's a lot of good ideas there. Like, think about all the boss fights that are in Elden Ring. There's a lot. It's insane. It's like, if we could even get, a quarter of that in Zelda, in the flagship title, that would give us a significantly more amount of boss fights, which I think would make a lot of people happy. Maybe you can choose to be able to reinforce weapons to where you can actually keep the weapon, like a handful of them, the whole game. Obviously, that's not what we did here, but it could change. But I'm not at all confident, and I don't believe that Nintendo will ever go back to a more linear style progression in 3D Zeldas. I think we totally continue down the open world path. We're going to have the flagship Zelda. I think we're still going to have 2D, just like we were doing with Metroid. We got first person Metroid Prime, and we got 2D Metroid. We got 2D Donkey Kong. I do believe we're probably going to get 3D Donkey Kong. I think they're going to dive back into that. And then with Zelda, we got it too. So I think it's possible totally that we could get traditional 3D Zelda remakes. And they could do it once a generation. We got Skyward Sword. Who's to say we don't get Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or Wind Waker for Switch 2? It just
we have to. We have to, right? It's going to be at least 6 years before a new game launches.
I do
a mainline game.
So. Yeah, we've talked about that, tossed around that idea of what's going to fill that Zelda gap, because we're not going to have a flagship Zelda, presumably, for a while. So what's going to come out on the Switch 2 within that first, 12 to 24 months? Remake. Which one? Okay. So right there, that's our traditional 3D Zelda, right? Do you guys...
Round up, baby. Let's go.
Let me ask you this. Do you guys think they would ever take one of the 2D Zeldas?
Make it
3D. And if they did, would it be traditional or open world? Think if they took the original Zelda. Even think about how they prototyped the original Zelda with Breath of the Wild.
I want it.
You know what I'm saying? The whole premise of making Breath of the Wild what it is because that was the original vision of the original Nintendo game. And let me tell you, in the 80s, that felt like an open world game because you didn't know where you're going, what you're doing. You literally got a pad of paper out. You're taking notes.
Yeah, you could go anywhere. You out of order.
Yeah, that was open world back in the day. So when Breath of the Wild came out, I'm like, yeah, this is it. I see the vision. I totally do. I get it. And I appreciated that. So what if they took the original Zelda, though, or Zelda 2? I'm a huge fan of Zelda 2 as well. I know a lot of people don't like it. Nate, you know that. But, there's that. There's A Link to the Past. Would they ever go 3D with that?
I would love if they did.
So would I.
I don't think they're going to, but I would love it.
You made me just think of something. Do we really think the next, new original open world Zelda is going to be in 6 years, or have they been working on it? Was it all hands on deck for Tears of the Kingdom? You
I
guys
don't think it's 2030. I'm on record 2028, revealed in 2026.
But isn't that a little risky to launch this brand new system without? I'm not saying it's going to be a launch game, but like within the first couple years, not have like a big game of the year Zelda game.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's a couple things that make it not as risky. One, you're going to have a game of the year 3D Mario game, or at least a contender for game of the year 3D Mario. That's probably your launch. And then there'll be a brand new Mario Kart for the first time in forever. That's going to do really well. And then, yeah, there's going to be other things. I don't know what those other things are. But there'll be something. Those are new IP from Monolith Soft that's been worked on forever. And there'll be something Zelda, as an example. It keeps getting thrown down, and I blame Audrus Restart for it, but a full from the ground up remake of Ocarina of Time could drop year one. And if you're going to drop any sort of remake that could make noise, it would be the one that is widely considered one of the greatest games that's ever existed. Now reimagined from the ground up. That would actually drive hype from traditional, and because it's 3D and looks so new, it could drive some of the new audience to it as well. And you kind of just see what happens. I don't know if it would still be if they make ground sweeping changes to make it more open to appeal to more people or not. I don't know. Ocarina of Time already can be more open. If you know what you're doing, you can do things out of order, and you're not really supposed to.
Yeah.
But they could make it so maybe it's more intentional that you can do it out of order, and that might make people more excited for it. But even without that, I think all that really matters is Nintendo's been, during the Switch era, they averaged publishing one game every month. I don't know if people even realize that. Throughout the entire Switch era, every month there's been, on average, a Nintendo published game. Not always a new game, but something published by Nintendo released.
That's crazy.
So, like, if they keep up that cadence, all that really has to happen is they can't wait until 2028 to show the Zelda game. They can't wait that long. But I think they could wait till year 2. If Switch 2 comes out early next year, they can wait until the end of year 1 or that summer of year 2 and then tease the new Zelda with the idea of it coming out a couple years later. Because Zelda is the big selling Zelda games. They don't seem to be afraid to tease a couple of years early. But yeah, I don't think you need Zelda to sell a system. It certainly doesn't hurt.
No.
But
They gotta factor in something else too.
You need something to kind of fill that void for that kind of audience year 1. And I don't know what Nintendo's only got one Zelda.
Gonna be open world Star Fox. Come on.
There you go. That's what it is.
Well, when's the Zelda movie coming out? When's it supposed to come out?
That I don't remember. Actually,
You know a Zelda game is coming out at the same time. If you don't do it, you're leaving so much money on the table. Their shareholders know it. Nintendo knows it. You guys know it. Everyone in the chat knows that you have to do this. So I thought it was coming out I thought it was 2026 was the projection.
Yeah, right now it seems 2026 is the target.
So that would put a Zelda for us within the first probably 12 to 18 months, maybe 24, maybe. But
yeah, one thing I got to remember too is even while Tears of the Kingdom is being worked on, doesn't mean they didn't already start working on the next one.
That's what I'm saying
too. Isn't it the same engine?
I doubt it. I bet you. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I got a feeling
Modified?
Yeah, I mean, I think visually it's going to look distinct. It'll have its own art direction. But
not the new one. I mean, currently, Breath of the Wild and Tears had the same engine.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine that game was able to be developed probably quicker and maybe with less hands to work on the Zelda for Switch 2. What was the development process like for Ocarina and Majora's Mask? Because that was the same thing. We got Ocarina in November of 98, and then we got Majora's in 2000, right?
Yeah.
And then when we got Wind Waker in, was it 03?
Yeah.
So there's a 3-year gap there.
Yeah, well, Majora's Mask was factually made in a year. There's a long interview story about how they pulled that off, because there was something else being made between the Zelda on a canceled disc system that didn't come out.
The
What-
tech demo. Don't bring it up.
At the 2000 Space World 2000.
Space World. Still remember that.
I think
Never forget.
no, I think it's interesting when you talk about like when the next game might come, because one thing that always got me was when Aonuma said in 2022, as of like May or March of 22, Tears of the Kingdom was done, and that entire year was polish. Well, you're not using the whole team to polish. So bare minimum, they probably already started the planning and steps there for the next game. And even after Tears of the Kingdom came out, one of the questions of Fujibayashi, the director, was like, "Hey, do you know what's up with the next game?" And he's like, "Dude, I already got ideas for the next game," which I don't know if Aonuma knows it, but because maybe Aonuma's not involved in the early process like that. I don't know, but it's possible it already started development in 2022 at some point. Which would give it obviously some extra time. And there's no big thing to remember. There's no DLC being made for Tears of the Kingdom. So like literally, even if we presume, okay, when it went gold, that's when they started development for the next game. Okay, well they started right away at some point early 2023 then. I think obviously, they've always talked about wanting to get the Zelda development cycle down to 5 or less years if they could. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how easy it is to transition to the new system, and are they building a new engine from the ground up again, like they did for Breath of the Wild? Are they going to reuse the engine but with a different visual style? There's a lot of questions we don't know. I think 2026 will have all the answers. I think you can get away with a Zelda game not like the brand new and not coming out in 2026. But that would be because if it releases in theaters in 2026, you're looking all the streaming platforms 2027. And you could drop a game then and just kind of keep the momentum going. I definitely think we're not getting 2 Zelda games in a generation like we just did. Not the big 3D open world. I think it'll only be 1, which should mean there's going to be DLC for it probably too. Which also, guys, might bode well for a Zelda launching the system after Switch 2. Keep that in the back of your minds. But then again, 3D Mario will be ready to go again too, because for some reason it's the first year now for every system. So actually, I think what will end up happening is this time around we'll get 2 3D Marios instead of the 2 3D Zeldas, and they'll start alternating every gen. I think that
makes sense.
You know who's who they need to bring back is Capcom. Let Capcom do some Zeldas like they did back in the day.
That hired most of that team, right?
That I know. I'm just thinking the Monster Hunter engine, the way how well it ran on the Switch and everything like that.
Dude, that RE engine is sick.
Yeah.
It
would be great to see what Capcom would do now.
All right. Well, we should probably move on to our next.
Yeah, wasn't there a couple
topic? Oh yeah, we had some super chats. I want to make sure I get to because it was relevant.
Relevant. Yeah.
It was. Right,
I didn't need it. Yeah.
I know my headphones are weird. They're not working.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll get to a couple of the super chats we had that were related to this. Jorge said, if a traditional 3D Zelda game like Ocarina of Time came out as a new game, not a remake, in the current state of gaming, do you think it would have done as well as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom commercially? No.
This is my concern for Metroid Prime 4, and I know Andres isn't here, but like it's if they have not done some major things to the gameplay loop, and like
if it's just more Metroid Prime, which is fantastic.
Exactly.
Could be GOTY contender, but that doesn't make it appeal more.
Nope, needs multiplayer, man.
It might be the best selling ever, but it'll just be because there's so many Switches sold. But it might hit 4 mil. Okay, cool. That's not what we want Metroid to be, but so yeah, no, I don't think it would done as well commercially. No, not in today's landscape. Thank you so much for that one. Then we had this was about the Tears of the Kingdom story from Venatus, saying the story is more than just the dragon tier cutscenes. You play the story as you go to each area and solve the mysteries. Nintendo has always prioritized interacting with the story and not just watching it.
That I would very much, not to be rude to this person, but
how dare you?
You hear the exact same fucking story 4 times. Just to be fair, when you're watching, like once you beat the dungeon, it's literally, I mean, line for line. They say the insert sage's name here.
Yeah,
I have to tell you about the Demon King. Here's our special stone. And they tell you, I mean, again, line for line, the same story, whatever, how many times. Not to be harsh, but it's like you hear it once and you've heard it. You've heard it.
Don't worry, guys. I will go ahead and flog him after the show.
Dude, am I wrong though? I'm literally. I can pull up a video of like
this entire time. I've been letting them have it.
A video of them.
I'm just
all speaking at the same time. Hang on.
They're in chat saying completely missing the point I was making. So maybe there's.
What was the point? What was the point they were making? Actually, though, sorry,
I have no idea because
I don't know. That's what I gleaned from that. Am I wrong? Like, what do you guys interpret that message as? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I have no idea because that's how I interpreted it.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure that I was also. You guys also interpreted that.
Though did remind us that the truth is the Zelda community doesn't even know what it wants because we're all spoiled.
That's true. I agree with that one. I'm on their side on that one.
Zelda fan base is very spoiled. Why don't you go ask the Animal Crossing community? How long do you have to wait for a new game?
We have it good now. We have it really good.
Been 84 years.
Until the next Animal Crossing game. It could be like
another 2026 probably.
That's what we hope.
Yeah.
Hope. Watch it be 2029. We're like, what is that?
Back in our day, you had to wait 7 years to get a new Zelda. Super Nintendo to 64. 7 years.
Let's talk about spoiled. Hey, what about our Donkey Kong fans? They're still waiting.
Yeah.
2014, 10 years now.
Exactly.
F-Zero fans, enter the chat.
Hey, 99. They got something. They got a crumb.
They're saying the story is in the gameplay. You play the story. It's more than cutscenes.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, like the whole point of the Tears of the Kingdom is
Tears of the Kingdom was the first Zelda game I can recall that had multiple main quest lines. And one of those main quest lines was definitely all like you had to go do it and experience it in gameplay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So where's in the gameplay? So I guess with your original question, then I'm sorry to stick on this one, but so it is your. You know, never mind. It's fine. We don't need to stick on it too much longer. It's fine.
I'm getting angry when you hate yours.
No, I'm not trying to get angry. I'm just like trying to
video and I'm pissed.
Trying to understand. No, I'm not. I watched 2 videos about it.
You have to go watch my videos on calling it the greatest game of all time. Anyway, Free Metroid Hat comes in and says, "Do you think the next 3D game will go beyond Hyrule? And do you think the big bad will be brand new?" Yes to both.
I think we need to continue. We got to continue charting new territory.
Yeah. I think they relied really much on like the Ganon and Ganondorf stuff. Literally, end of Tears of the Kingdom. If the game takes place after it, I know they did retcon things all the time, but I'm pretty sure we eradicated him from pure existence.
Yeah.
Based on the nuclear explosion, I'm pretty sure that's the end, at least for after Tears of the Kingdom. But again, they retcon things all the time. But I think they know that they got to do something new. Like even if they go to if it's Hyrule again, it'll be a new Hyrule. But I do think that they realize, hey, we did this Hyrule thing twice. It's got to be something new, something beyond. Or if it is Hyrule, it's a massively expanded one, other lands or other kingdoms potentially involved. And then big bad wise, look, they've done new big bads before. It's not new for the Zelda series. And I think the way they sent Ganondorf out, I do think is one of the best ways they've ever sent Ganondorf out. Mm-hmm. And it really feels like they did that intentionally to be like, we are done with this. Mm-hmm. We got something else in mind for what's next. Some people speculate it could be Demise coming back. Some people speculate it could be something all completely new. We'll see.
You got to wonder if the movie will have any significance with future Zelda plotline.
I got a feeling the movie's going to be so separate from everything. They're going to be very safe.
Yeah.
So we're sticking with
the movies are going to be
Dwarf story.
I think Nintendo has shown us what the next game's going to be in releasing Minish Cap onto the GBA NSO, and we are going to get Shrunk in the same Hyrule.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. Same Hyrule.
That'd be dope.
It's going to take us so long to get across.
The Breath of the Wild didn't make it. They're bringing it back, except we're the Minish now.
All the shrines, we didn't realize we've been walking on hundreds of shrines the entire time we've been playing these other 2 games.
I am curious what they're going to replace the whole shrine thing with. because that was very much this era. I think it'll be something different next time. So
I do too.
I like the caves and stuff. The caves were great.
Caves were a good addition. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe they go more in that route. Something
Mhm.
that feels more
Like
organic.
natural. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We have no idea because again, here's one thing I do know: Fujibayashi is a genius, and I'm going to let him cook.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let him cook. He's the real mastermind. You guys do not like these games, so then you don't like Fujibayashi. Well, I love Skyward Sword. You're right. That was also Fujibayashi, so you're welcome. He's awesome. Let him cook. Let him figure it out.
I agree. I trust Nintendo in their
He
direction.
literally is the next
Agreed.
out you will be taking over. So
They've yet to let me down.
yeah,
They're gonna flood it again. We're gonna be on the water the whole time.
Even with Wind Waker, when Wind Waker came out and everybody was pissed, I wasn't.
so pissed.
Because I want a space world Zelda.
So the question is, what's our next topic? I think this goes to Eric, and I got to get this trailer ready to go here because this is wild.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I got to make sure the audio comes
Wild
through
and
for
crazy
it
kids?
because this.
I was on the same wavelength there.
Wow, crazy kids. What are we talking about?
Damn
Eric?
good show.
Nintendo announced a new IP today. Woo! It looks to be a horror game, but we're not 100% sure because it was only a 15-second teaser. Looks like the game's name is Aimio, which apparently translates to smiling/laughing man in Japanese. It is M-rated, Nintendo published. What do we think?
What's happening? Oh my god! I just missed myself.
Yeah, terrified.
Where's the clown on the trike?
Yeah, for real.
What
You
is
guys
going on? I have no
Hold on,
idea
play
what is
Luigi's
going
Mansion
on with this.
Legos.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. They teased this on social media. They put it on YouTube with the 15-second trailer. There's an official website for it. By the way, the fact that there's an official website does mean Nintendo published it or is publishing it. They only make official websites for their own published games. There's been speculation out there that it was that this is being made by the Bloober team, who did like the Medium, the Silent Hill 2 remake, and others. However, it's because there's actually a confirmed project that their CEO talked about called Project M that they're making exclusively for Nintendo platforms. They note, so it might not even be just Switch. However, if you dig into the interview from the CEO, they are self-publishing that game. So Nintendo's publishing this one, they're self-publishing that one. So it's probably not Bloober Team. Also, everything from Bloober Team is leaked in the entire history of the company, and there was no leaks for this, which suggests probably a Japanese company. Could be internal. It'd be crazy if it's internal Nintendo. They've never made an M-rated game internally before.
It'd be cool.
Nintendo has a couple horror-ish franchises. If you want to go to Eternal Darkness, Geist, back in the day. But
Classic.
again, those were all not made by Nintendo, but
Yeah.
they published them. So
I got a question. Right before we got on, I saw that the little trailer, the teaser was posted again.
Yeah.
By Nintendo Australia.
Yep.
And did you guys see that it gives obviously the rating, but it gives why?
No,
I thought
I
it was
didn't see
interesting.
that.
So
I did see that.
Strong
Oh, I
themes,
saw. Yeah, I saw Mike Odyssey's tweet about
violence,
this. Yeah.
suicide references, themes
Interesting.
of cruelty,
Yeah.
themes of domestic abuse.
Jeez. Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
It's a
Yeah,
Saw
that's the-
game.
Let me. Yeah, we gotta share this. Holy crud! Yeah, I got it up right now. I don't know which one it is. It's that one.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, there it is on the bottom there.
Yeah, dude.
So MA 15 plus, is that like our equivalent of rated M?
Yeah,
Yeah.
our equivalent of M. Yeah, strong themes, violence, suicide references, and then it has the restricted 13. So you have to be 13 and over in this country, Australia, with violence, cruelty, that domestic
abuse.
Domestic abuse.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and
They want it
hardcore.
bigger. They want it bigger, Nate. They want to see it.
They want it big. I can't make it bigger. It's a video. It just gets
full-
smaller.
Full
Go
screen.
full screen, dude.
Full screen.
Yeah, hit it. There you go.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Barely bigger.
Strong themes, violence.
Now that you see the blue arrows on that screen, just hit that blue arrow and it'll make it. It'll
I don't know
wipe
what
us
blue
away.
arrow you're talking about.
No, okay.
There's no blue arrow.
You see like a little switch on it anywhere? Like a
I see.
Enhance.
okay.
If you hold, wait, Nate, hold control or maybe it's alt. Hang on.
You jump on Control Plus.
Yeah.
No,
That's-
control. No, hold control and then scroll wheel.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's Nate's
Oh, is
first
it?
stream, guys. Come on.
No, guys,
No,
it's
it's
the UI.
it's
a video.
it's-
You can't make the video thing bigger.
so Nate, on the side where it shows all of our videos, there's an arrow button, like just on the video itself. If you hit it, it'll turn blue and it'll full screen the whole thing.
You're trying to full screen the whole thing.
Hey.
Oh.
So you're saying
Audio listeners love you to death.
You're trying to hey, get rid of us.
Gotcha.
That's all you had to say was eliminate the people.
Yeah.
Sorry,
listeners, love you to death.
sorry.
We're just seeing a screen right now.
Names in the lower
It's
corner, too.
violent, it's cruel, domestic abuse, and suicide. I guess I just suicided the whole podcast.
We're seeing audio listeners, we're seeing a lot of that on the screen right now. You're missing out. Come to YouTube right now, subscribe. It's kind of wild, it's insane. So much of this of all these themes that I don't want to say out loud and be clipped for.
But no, dude, that's
That's insane.
this is awesome.
That's intense. That's very
I got a
intense.
question. So I saw this morning, right when I woke up, and it was literally 1 minute, I think, after Nate, you posted something, and I saw it. And of course, I'm watching it in bed. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is wild. And like, I thought about it all day because I'm like, I know we're gonna talk about this today. And I'm like, as I'm thinking about it, I can't draw any comparisons or like I can't pull from any games I know of that this could be like any game series. I got pretty much nothing on this. So then I was wondering, well, the game is rated. Has anybody went to the ratings board to go try and find a game that matches this description yet so we could find out more about it?
I tried looking on the ESRB and I didn't see it on there, but I don't know when they're publishing it.
Who don't they submit the game summary to at least one rating board like in the beginning? For instance, like sometimes the Korean rating board will get the game description, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I don't know where to go though. Does anybody know where to go?
Here's the thing, dude. What I'm crazy with this game about right now is obviously we don't know anything other than it's likely a horror game and all that, and M-rated and published by Nintendo, which is awesome. But I like what Nintendo's doing for the marketing of this game.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what the hell this game is.
Yeah.
They just dropped it randomly on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. And a 15-second trailer, no gameplay, don't know what the hell is going on. Dude, it's got like 300,000 views, which is one of Nintendo's most viewed trailers. Actually, it's the most viewed thing they put up since the Direct. And it's outviewed some of the Direct stuff as well so far. And horror games tend to not be like massive sellers, but people are excited because it's like, well, if this is internally developed at Nintendo, what the fuck are those crazy kooks going to do with a horror game?
Well, I mean, it has us thinking about Eternal Darkness, right?
Yes. Well, that too. Yes.
I thought about that. You know, we've been thinking about it all day. I'm like, is this the first sanity effect? This teaser for us to think about it all day.
Yeah, right. First step.
And the fact that it's rated, and guys, the trailer obviously has a Nintendo Switch logo at the beginning. It's probably coming out later this year, I'm assuming.
October.
It could be October. It could be their August game. They technically don't have anything next month published.
Could it be Eternal Darkness?
I mean, I would love that. They do still own the rights to Eternal Darkness. They got the rights to it from Silicon Knights, right? I looked
Pretty
this
sure
up
they still have
recently.
it.
Oh, yeah, they have the rights to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone in chat earlier said it was Puro's execution.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
Tweets go around. We're like, oh, man, Nintendo made a game about his execution. Jeez.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff going around on Twitter this morning.
But I'm very curious about this game. Obviously, like, there's not a lot to go on, but that's what's cool. Is like that's the kind of viral marketing they're trying to do for this. Is like, hey, no, we're trying. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like dead silent for a couple of weeks, and then they drop another little 15-second, and it's just like a new face on the damn thing, and you're like, what are we doing?
Those are heavy themes, though.
Yeah,
That's great. If it's internal, that's nuts.
very nuts. Well, I kept thinking like, God, if it is internal, who the hell would even be working on it?
Yeah.
don't
Interesting in chat. Do you guys see that? Makoto said that in Japan, horror means summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
yeah.
weeks. That's what I was saying. Like this could be their August game, because again they have no scheduled game right now from them being published in August. And again, they did this little Twitter drop thing, social media drop. It's already been rated.
Yeah.
Like that for Nintendo, that feels like this is coming soon.
Yeah.
Will it be eShop only? I don't know.
Unless they want to milk it, but I don't think that would be the case. I
Look,
think this is
more
soonish.
marketing than they gave Metroid Prime Remaster. By the way, I wish Andres was here so I could judge him and be like, "How's it feel to have this game get more marketing than Metroid Prime Remastered got?"
Could be a test too. Like if internally they're willing to do like a mature rated game, this could be like the first of many, like a first person
All I
shooter.
know is if this is internally developed or even with a partner studio and it's a new IP, as long as it's really good, if this sells a few mil and it's really good, that excites me for Switch 2 and the kind of risks Nintendo might be willing to take.
Yep.
Because
Hope they don't do something stupid and do like Labo.
we get you guys look at the horror genre. We get a lot of horror games. Most of them are kind of just bad.
Yeah.
It'd be
And
great.
even the good
Fatal
ones are
Frame is
remake.
amazing.
Okay, well, just stop. Just I like Fatal Frame.
Who doesn't want to play a game like this?
Zombie U, come on, guys.
Zombie U is terrible.
What about Clock Tower? That's a good one. Do you guys know that?
No,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
that one. I'm not as familiar. I'm sorry.
I don't know any horror games, right, Nate?
It's understand she's trying to make up like a really good one.
What
And
is
everyone else is
Clock
bringing up
Tower?
ones that are bad.
Actually, I don't know what that is.
The thing is, Zombie U, I actually like Zombie U, but only on the Wii U. Only on
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was cool.
But I didn't really consider a horror. Look, I separate things out. I know, like, Resident Evil. I'm like, look, anything that's a zombie shooter game to me, I don't even feel as horror anymore.
Mm.
Like the zombie,
Resident Evil 7 is not horror to you?
it is. It's more horror than they've been in a while when they went super action with it. But even then, man, like I know what to expect.
Especially in VR.
Now, again, seven was more actually getting back into some more creepy stuff, which I really did enjoy. But it's kind of like, man, the whole zombie horror thing is just kind of getting. I'm not even scared anymore. It's just zombies. I know what
Now-
that means.
I want to see Nate stream.
Zombie head's gonna pop out at me. Oh no! Ah!
Yo, that
We
mom
are a lot
grandma
older
spider
now.
thing in 7, that still scarred me, okay? Like
Hey,
I'm still
and
scarred from that
Seven
thing.
was like a return to form. It's like I just don't trust that's what it's gonna always be.
Yeah.
in Resident Evil. But even then, not just like the Resident Evil series, like so much of the horror games that come out are always based around it's got to be the undead, it's got to be the zombies, and it's like, dude, there are so many. Like, okay, go watch horror movies. Most horror movies aren't based around fucking zombies because it's lame. Like they actually have real other elements, and the fact that there's so much suicide is one in here, abuse. I'm like, oh, dude, they're going fucking dark.
Yeah.
And that.
Cool.
That makes me feel like it's not going to be like a zombie survival kind of game, you know?
What was the Sony game? Had rain in the title. You guys remember?
Heavy
Risk of
rain.
Heavy rain.
Oh,
Yeah.
heavy
Yeah,
rain. sorry.
Heavy
Yeah,
rain.
Heavy
Like,
rain.
That's kind of like I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be that direction a little bit.
That'd be cool. It's a good
Yeah,
game.
Hopefully it's
whatever,
not just like a
whatever this
novel.
is, it has to have a deep story. This is
Yep.
the kind of game you got to have the deep story to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know who the hell's making it. I saw some people say, "Oh, it must be Hideo Kojima because he wore a Nintendo New York hat like last week." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
Yeah.
I'm sure Hideo Kojima just shit this out his ass. You know what? This would be the kind of marketing campaign he would do, except he'd be the
True.
guy with a paper bag on his head.
Nate, can you do a stream playthrough of this? And every time you jump scare, take a shot.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be funny.
Cool.
That'd be really
Watch
funny.
it totally not be a jump scare kind of game anyway.
No, it sounds more like a mental health horror game. Like
Yeah.
It does.
like real scary stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anytime I
Yeah.
piss myself, that's a shot.
Sounds like a Doki Doki Literature Club kind of experience where you're like, it's more shock value than it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
We'll
Or
see.
even Hellblade.
They make this. If this is like Saw, the Nintendo horror game, I'm just gonna be like, dude, I'm all there for that. What the hell? Nintendo, the Mario company, let's go, baby. Let's just. You now know Nintendo's taking all the handcuffs off. We're gonna get real blood in the next Zelda game.
True. I wish. No, I'm just kidding.
It turned into a gore fest. Mortal Kombat style. Hell yeah.
Yeah, what was the fighting game back in the day that had Link in it in the GameCube? I forget what that
Soul
was.
Soul Calibur.
Calibur. Soul Calibur.
Yeah, it's like that. That'd be cool.
It just reaches.
I was just insane that they
Ocarina
even
of Time
happened.
had red blood originally. Look out.
Yeah. Seems cool.
his hand and just
Excited.
into a Moblin's heart and pulls out the beating heart and just.
I'm just
Eats it.
excited by it. Like I understand that in general the game's probably being overhyped and it could just be a AA game and it ends up not being very good. But Nintendo published obviously gives people some hope because usually Nintendo published games at least are decent to solid, like Endless Ocean Luminous might not be for everyone, but it's still a solid game. The Mario sports games like Camelot, usually the examples people pull out to be like, oh, these games aren't very good, but the gameplay actually is at least pretty solid. So there's like faith it should at least be a solid game. Obviously, everyone wants it to be a great game. Like just like, and if it's internally developed, I think what excites people for Nintendo is every time Nintendo seems to go into a new genre, like they do something you don't expect. Like, oh, let's go into the multiplayer shooter genre, Splatoon, and it just shocks everyone at how like amazing, how fun that game is. But it feels very Nintendo. Well, how would a Nintendo horror game look?
We're about to find out.
Like imagining Nintendo even going to like make an M-rated game at all, let alone a horror one with these kind of themes. Again, I'm not saying that this is internally developed. It highly likely they hired an outside company, but who the hell knows, man? Like whoever made this marketing campaign decision, I think was brilliant. Because they could have put this in the direct. And I know some people think they didn't put it in the direct because, of age gating or whatever. But the age gate was manual. There's nothing in the actual trailer that needs to be age gated. So that was a manual age gate applied by Nintendo. It wasn't applied by YouTube. So, because Nintendo had M-rated stuff in their thing from third party. So they could have had this trailer in there, but they decided it makes more sense to be this big, mysterious thing on its own on a random Wednesday. And I love it, man.
It works.
It's better this way.
And especially if they just keep dropping tiny little pieces here and they're cryptic messages. You don't know what the hell is going on. They never talk about this thing. And then like they just kind of create like a creepypasta around it for a while and let the internet just devour and then see what happens when we actually finally see what the hell the game is.
Little do we know that this
Watch comes out. It's like a retelling of like Little Red Riding Hood or something, and it's like a top down 2D cartoony graphic thing. And she's like, "Oh, Big Bad Wolf, you don't need to get me. I got it."
No,
Like, what?
no. Little do we know that these little hints are actually the game. They're gonna just play psychological tricks on us, trying to make us figure out what the hell this game is. That is the game.
That's the game in a nutshell, everyone.
It does make me wonder if it's not a game that would play like the movie Seven, where like they're dropping clues and hints right now, and that's somewhat how the game. And like maybe we're playing as a detective, and that's why some of those themes are involved.
That would be. I would dig that.
It would be more in line with like the Sony, what do they call them, walking simulators and those kind of those kind of experiences.
Story, gets into some super serious themes, but it makes sense that why it's so serious. Yeah. I'd be all for that. Like Nintendo doesn't really have games like that, and this is the perfect genre to do that with. Kind of get to a whole True Detective kind of thing going.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be really sick. I love True Detective.
Season 1's the best.
Well, season 1 is definitely the best, but all of them are good. It's just season 1
They
is
are
so fucking good.
Exactly. They're all great. I love them all, but season 1 definitely the best.
Man. All right. Anyone else have anything to add to this? Shall we move on? Looks like we're moving on. Thunderstash. How are we talking?
All right. So let's get that graphic up here.
Oh, geez. You're going to make me do work?
Graphic. It's graphic time.
Yeah, I got to download it first. I forgot to download it.
That's fine. I'll talk about it right now, and you guys see the graphics soon. So big deal in the history here of the Switch, and it coincides, of course, with Nintendo's entire history. So as of today, we're now at the longest period between Nintendo home console launches in Nintendo's entire history.
Wow.
So with all the hype around Nintendo's next platform, of course, and the inevitable announcement at some point this fiscal year, kind of think about what this generation means to all of us. And, I was looking at this, I was thinking about it, and in looking at the graphic that you guys will see
in a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about the time lapses like between two major Nintendo home consoles. The longest wait was the NES to the Super. That was 7 years and 129 days. That's the one on top there. It's hard to believe that it was 7 years and 129 days, but that's how long it was. So from 85 to 90, September 91 was when it came out in the US, if I recall. Does that sound right?
This sounds right.
So we're at that point right now. So as of today, so this obviously is going to be the longest gap to the next console. So what is this 7 years and 129 days that we're at? What does it mean to you? And I thought about it a lot. And I think for me, especially just being around and seeing this from the get-go with the NES and growing up with it, is that like I think we've entered the golden era of Nintendo. And I think they're really just starting to hit their stride. I don't think we've peaked yet. I really don't. I think they're actually getting better all the time. And I think we've seen proof of this. I already had this in my notes. Nate, you mentioned it just a little bit ago. To have a Nintendo published title every month is insane. Guys, the droughts that we lived through different Nintendo consoles, to going from that and living in that and seeing it. I mentioned earlier, 7 years we waited for the new Zelda game to what we have now is just nuts. So I think that's proof for all of us that they are getting better. That's never happened. Because you could look at sales numbers all we want, and you can conclude a lot, right, from the sales, but we lived it. We've never had a new game every month. Not only that, we've had so many high quality games. So I think this is the golden era. I think the third parties are super excited to join on Switch 2. I really do. I think they've got their heavy hitters from the PS4 series generation. I think we're going to be able to get Series S titles. I think we're probably going to be able to get PS5 titles. But I think games that did obviously very well, and we've talked about this before, I think those games are coming to Switch 2. I think this thing's going to sell like crazy because this has been such a long wait and everyone's been wanting a Switch 2. So this is going to be really exciting. I think we're kind of like, if you think about it, this is the most similar thing on that picture is that it's the NES to Super era. And we've compared the Switch to Switch 2 feeling like the NES to Super, but it is going to be a bigger jump. It is because going from the Switch to the proposed specs is a huge, huge jump. So looking at that sales chart time, like I feel like as an adult, we're kind of living that NES to Super Nintendo era, but on a far greater scale. This Nintendo is much more mature. They know what they're doing now. This is really exciting. What do you guys think sums up this generation that we're in and we're about to be exiting at the same time?
Do y'all want to feel really old? I graduated high school the year that the Nintendo Switch came out.
Ah, geez.
I can be your dad. Good to know.
What'd you say?
I can be your dad. It's good to know.
You definitely, yeah, you really could. Yeah.
I I could
Yeah.
too, man. I'm older than Nate.
I
I'm older than
I would
Nate.
have been a very young dad, but it was
I'm a year older than Nate.
Yeah. No, I have to agree. I think it will either be the best era of Nintendo as we continue forward in a golden age, or it will be a historic fall off that will be studied for a very long time.
I think
I
one
hope
thing
it's not that, and I don't think it will be that. But of course, that could just be the bias and optimism of me being like, I hope the next thing's great because
I think even if we're not being biased though, and we're just like looking at this
the momentum is there.
from
for sure.
yeah, because like I'm not trying to be biased. Like I play all video games, a lot of us do.
Yeah,
But obviously I love Nintendo. But I'm looking at things like this. Like we got the movies now. That's
Yeah.
something they've never done.
Yeah.
And it was wildly successful. Was it the number 2 like animated movie
Yeah.
of all time?
Yeah.
Insane, dude. They're not Disney. This is Nintendo, man, and they did
Well,
that. And the theme parks.
I would argue they are ascending to that level of like going. I mean, they're still at its core. It's still a video game franchise, but I would still say that they are ascending to the level of a mass multimedia franchise, and that's what they've done since day one, and that's what they have is the branding. So even if a console that's how they survived Wii U, was the branding and the games are so strong that even when they have flops, they can survive and they can still push product that is, iconic, and it still keeps Nintendo in a golden light overall. Even though the Wii U was mediocre, I would still argue almost all the games, if not, almost all the games are at least mid to good. So, anyways, I think we're heading in the right direction. That's my opinion. Stop yapping.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy the momentum and the place that Nintendo's in now compared to when the Wii U was like at its end. Like I specifically remember seeing like Nintendo photoshops on like PS4 boxes. Like, will Nintendo become third party? Like I remember that was a huge.
Oh yeah.
And now they're the leaders of the video game space, and it's so exciting to think about Switch 2 because you've seen what they've been able to do with pretty lackluster hardware. Wii U and even Switch. Switch was like outdated as soon as it came out. So to get modern hardware is crazy, like something to think about. And then it makes the job for third parties that much easier. But I just think I agree with Flam. I think this is like a Disney situation. Like they're getting huge, man. The movies, then you add in like the live action with the Zelda movie coming up, and it's just like, yeah, I agree. I think we're entering the golden era. I think this was just the start of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they have room to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to. Josh, what do you think?
They just got to keep their foot on the gas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the foot needs to, and I mean, and that happens with Mario Kart, honestly, right? That's going to be that game has to deliver, and it has to deliver big, but it also, like we talked about with Metroid Prime, and we talked about with with games like they still have to keep evolving at some, like to some degree, right? Because there's still plenty of people out there that are only playing Fortnite and only playing Valorant and only playing and they may never be able to break through like open Twitch right now and look at all the top games.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're mostly all free to play games, and it's one of those conversations that like you start talking about it and people get real fired up about it real quick, because it's like they want their game, they want to pay for it once, they want it to be enough content, all that kind of stuff. But that's not the world we live in anymore. Like, and Nintendo's kept it going probably better than anybody else. And but even then, like Mario Kart has double the tracks from a $25 DLC, right? And so I would say when we look at Sony, we look at Xbox, you know, like the conversation around Game Pass going up in price right now, that's not great for Microsoft. Sony, when they first announced their versions of Game Pass, and it was like 3 different levels, and it was more expensive, and just really trying to flex those brand muscles. Nintendo, I mean, we're seeing that with like Luigi's Mansion and Paper Mario. People saying these probably should have been $40, right? Not 60. I don't think that's hurting Nintendo at the moment, but I do see there being a fine line potentially that like they've got to make sure that they don't do that too often, right? And that they keep delivering what they have been delivering. Animal Crossing, fantastic, right? You look at a game like that, like, but can they catch that lightning in a bottle without a pandemic? I hope so. I hope there's enough of a fan base there that everybody jumps back on board. And so
it's a good question for sure. And you know, I like to look at some of the other console manufacturers because I of course I followed their history as well. I'm sure all of us have. And like think about PS2, right? I mean, Switch is obviously on that trajectory. We know Switch is going to surpass PS2. So we look at something that is massively successful on a level never seen before. Then what happened? What happened with PS3?
The mighty Casey has fallen. And that's a very old reference. I'm sorry, but
$5.99. Everyone remembers that, right? It was like, what?
Get a second job.
Yeah, insane. Right. Like completely out of touch with the market. It was wild. And so obviously we've talked about things that we don't want to happen. I think we talked about this last week. But you look at stuff like that just cannot happen. You know, they got to play their cards right. Like you said, they got to keep their foot on the pedal with Mario Kart, both figuratively and literally, right? Because that's how you move the cart.
For sure. But I think looking back also at the NES, what came from that era? The Sega Genesis did, right? The Master System wasn't much it didn't really deal much of a blow. But the Genesis was like, hey, look at this. There's market share we can go after now. Look at the Switch. Look at the Steam Deck. Look at the all of these handheld,
Tons.
like they're everywhere, right? There's a bunch of Segas that have popped up. Essentially, I don't think any like they obviously aren't in direct like competition as far as like necessarily going for that same market share. You're playing your Steam library on them or you're playing Game Pass on them, right? But Nintendo still set the bar for what was possible with the secondary console that ended up like, you know, selling amazing. And so like and their track record is also their second console after one doing well has never been great. So it's time to change that narrative also.
I think so too. I do. And that's why I kind of thought about it. It's like, I don't think they've peaked yet. I really don't. If I felt like they've peaked, then I would be concerned about a massive fall off, right? Or even a fall off like the NES to Super Nintendo. There's a fall off there as far as sales, but not quality. That's for damn sure. The quality's 100% there. Eric, what do you think, man?
Oh gosh, I mean, this generation of console it feels like we need like a new console here soon, but at the same point in time, I'm just starting to feel like that. We've had so many bangers for games, and it the best of each series, this and that. And so, it's getting to the point where, yes, it's now starting to feel like we do absolutely need one. But that's impressive that we can go this long before we really are like, okay, now we're starting to get to the point where we need one right now. So I find that impressive. And I just hope that they can build on what they've established now and keep that creative juices going, that they don't just get stagnant and kind of sit on what they have. So,
100%. Cannot rest on the laurels here.
Mhm.
Nate, what do you got? What do you think?
So this Switch generation, man, I've been part of every Nintendo generation. Not as strong in the NES one. I played a lot of NES games, so that was more my dad. But I still played some. SNES is really when I have my earliest, fondest memories of gaming. And just going through all of the eras of Nintendo, Switch is the GOAT.
Amen.
It even has like a lot of the classic games on NSO, and for although you don't own them and it's a subscription service, it's cheap, and they keep adding to it, and they don't just add them, online abilities, up in the resolutions at times, save states. This is awesome, and then you throw in all the new stuff. Like, I don't want to say the greatest game in each franchise for Nintendo has appeared on Switch, because in the end, there are some franchises that didn't even get games. I wouldn't say F-Zero 99 is better than F-Zero GX, but I'm glad F-Zero 99 exists. Really happy that game exists. All the 99 games have been really amazing, and a lot of them are completely different than the way F-Zero did it, and they're awesome. Even Mario 35, wish that shit was still around. Thanks, Nintendo.
Yeah, me too.
That's gone. That was really good. But like, my favorite Zelda games are here. My Mario Odyssey is my favorite 3D Mario game. Is it my favorite Mario game of all time? I don't know. That's an internal debate I have, but it's there. Same with even Pokemon Legends became my favorite Pokemon game. I totally didn't expect that to happen. That really hit me out of left field. Hell, even the new Pokemon Snap. Like, I don't know if it's better than the original, but it's right there as good, at least minimum. It's so damn good. And this just keeps happening. Fire Emblem 3 Houses, even Fire Emblem Engage, which is more traditional, fantastic. Xenoblade 2 and 3, amazing. Animal Crossing New Horizons, well, I still might prefer certain things in other Animal Crossing games. That terraforming, like, it just feels like that should have been there day one. It just feels so natural. Like, it just like, wait, why did we have this? Oh, when it first happened, I'm like, oh, look, they Minecraft. No, that's not Minecraft. This is awesome. And it just feels natural, like it should have been. But even the little bit too late, but still really awesome DLC, bringing back some stuff we did with like Happy Home Designer and others. It's like, still, this is awesome. Yeah, I wish they would have supported it longer, but I get it. They probably had to like turn face and go, hey, a new system's coming out. We can't just like keep making a zillion pieces of content like we should, because this game should have came out 4 years earlier. But hey, whatever. Like, it ended up, obviously, for the time it came out, it being perfect for Nintendo, being a pandemic game. But I just like everything about Switch. I've like, people complain about the frame rates. They complain about the graphics and the visuals and how quickly it fell behind because it's mobile tech. And like, guys, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah.
With Switch 2. Like, it's gonna look real nice coming out. It's gonna be real nice and competitive with Series S, and some PlayStation 5 games. People might not be able to discern a whole lot of difference depending. But in the end, give it a couple years. Well, there'll be a PS6 coming out. There's going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro. There's going to be more powerful handheld PCs, and people are going to be like, "Oh, look, it's dating itself again." Well, yeah, because Nintendo's, look at this, guys. It's the longest a system between home console launches we've ever had, almost 8 years, and it's probably going to be 8 years or more before by the time it's all said and done. And it's like, yeah. Okay, in 8 years, I expect tech to be pretty far advanced compared to where we were 8 years ago. Yeah, it should feel pretty dated at this point. Yeah, Switch feels dated. I can just say that it's 2024. Switch feels dated. Does every game feel dated? No, because Nintendo's got amazing art direction. Like Mario Wonder, I don't think that would have been better for the Switch 2. Higher resolution, maybe, but sure, I don't think it would have been a better game just because it had more powerful hardware. So
120 frames, baby.
Yeah, 120 frames. Yeah, that would have been sick. But assuming that we even get that with Switch 2. But I look at this generation as like, we get these new games or remasters or old ports every month. We get really high effort games from Nintendo every month. Like, this is the first system in Nintendo history that they combined home and handheld together. Otherwise, they always had a generation where both existed. That's one of the reasons they've had so many consistent releases. And yeah, maybe we're not getting things the way we want. You could argue we used to get more Zelda games because we would get so many damn handheld games. There was a 7-year period where we got like 8 games. It was insane. We'll probably never see that again. And those are new games I'm talking about, by the way, guys, not the remasters. It was insane. 3 from Capcom in 4 years. Like, all right. But while those days are behind us, we know that the gaming world is getting more complicated. Things are going more and more to microtransactions. Things are going to season passes. Things are going to free to play. A lot of companies are struggling. Games are taking longer and longer to make. Nintendo themselves even openly admitting, hey, even our games, it's taking longer. Now, is it taking as long as everyone else? No, but it's still taking longer. And you're seeing all these layoffs and all this negative stuff and companies closing. And here's Nintendo. Hey, man, we're expanding. We're building a new building.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new building being built right next to our current headquarters that's just as big but fancier and awesome. And yeah, that's because we're hiring more game developers. We've hired 400 new developers over the last year. We're going to be hiring thousands more as we keep expanding. They believe, by the way, contrary to what people were reporting, they do believe in using generative AI just in conjunction with their creativeness. They don't want to rely just on it. They want to make things that generative AI can't do on its own, which is good. I think using it as a tool is fine. Using it as a replacement is different. And Nintendo hasn't made any firings suggesting they're replacing people with it. It's in addition to make game development faster. And the way I look at it is they are set up for Switch 2 to be even bigger, which is a rarity. I don't know if they're going to do it because Nintendo's never been able to do it, but everything's right there. To me, it would be pretty hard to mess it up because they just got to keep doing what they've been doing and bigger and better. And Nintendo's really great at going bigger and better. There's a lot of ways they can mess things up. They could be really shitty naming. It could end up being more like Switch Pro specs instead of next gen, which then might not feel like a big enough leap until we don't get those third-party games we all think we're getting. They could have major tech issues, Red Ring of Death style. They could, turns out, hey, they said it was going to take longer to make games. They meant it. Their 3D Mario still isn't ready. The Mario Kart still isn't ready. The new Zelda game, 2031. So, like, there's ways that it could go bad. I just don't see how it can. Because Nintendo, I think, has built up enough to understand the transition better than the rest by kind of doing what the rest of the industry didn't do. The rest of the industry went for all the money for like the last 15 years, and now they're reaping the negatives of that is, hey, not every game can be a $300 million game and make money. Sony, CEO coming out saying, hey, 4% net profits on our published games.
Yeah,
that's not acceptable. Yeah, no, most company would say if you're basically breaking even, that's not acceptable. Yeah, you're right. You spend $350 million in Spider-Man 2, you expect to make some fucking money. But you didn't. Now, a lot of that's tied up in licensing, but it doesn't matter. The point is that, like, hey, you spent a lot of money and you didn't make any. Yeah, that's not okay. Companies aren't okay with that. Nintendo just sitting there like, you spent $300 million on that. Look, we spent like $250 million on Tears of the Kingdom, made it back day one.
Yeah.
What are we talking? And that's their most expensive game. I don't even know if they spent $250 million, but they didn't report it was the most expensive game they ever made. And before that, it was Breath of the Wild. And you consider that, and then you consider, Mario Kart 8. Oh yeah, they made 48 new tracks for it this gen and $60 million. Nintendo is measuring success or mega successes based on 30 million sellers every 3 to 5 years, according to Miyamoto.
Yeah.
And they've actually pulled that off in the entire history of the company. If you go back and look, they have 12 30 million sellers, which is one every 2.5 years. Or if you want to argue, 2 shouldn't count because one was Wii Sports. Okay, fine. That's 10. That's still one every 3 years. So it's like Nintendo is in such a good spot. And the crazy thing about that, 10, like 4 or 5 of those are on Switch. Like happening now. So I think Nintendo is coming off one of their greatest generations. It's definitely the greatest generation for them personally, financially. It's more, if you go look at their financials, they've never made this kind of money before. And you got the movies, you got the theme park. We didn't really talk about it. They got the Lego partnership, something that felt so natural and like it should have happened 20 years ago is happening now. And hey, so far, the Mario Lego sets were the Fastest selling brand new Lego sets since the original Star Wars ones. And look, they haven't even got the Zelda one now. They can't keep the damn thing in stock. They keep selling out. So like Zelda's gonna be the next one to set sales records for them. And what is it, like a $300 tree?
I haven't pre-ordered.
Got to get two so you can display both.
It's gonna be like,
Good point.
it's gonna be sold out for like the next year.
Take rent out for that
We
thing.
were wanting Zelda Lego forever, and you're giving us Ocarina of Time, Link and Zelda, and Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Link and Zelda. Hello, you're hitting on both people in one package. So everything for them is looking up. They got the theme parks are about to open up, the biggest one they've had yet. I think early next year, out in Orlando, and the other ones are expanding. Nintendo's in such a great place with the Zelda movie. They have already announced another Mario series movie coming, and there'll be many more once they get that ball rolling. You're going to start seeing Nintendo movie probably one a year at some point in the future. I just turned 38 years old, and this is the Nintendo. This is what I thought Nintendo was when I was a kid. I thought I was living in the world that it's all Nintendo, but it really wasn't. And it's happening now.
I think a lot of that though is the reason why is because our parents kept calling everything Nintendo.
Well, there's that.
Of course, everything.
That's a PlayStation. I'm playing on PlayStation right now. No, it's Nintendo. It's a Dreamcast, Mom. Stop. Not the same company. This is that
Classic
company we don't like.
If you were my age, it was all Nintendo.
Yeah, it was
prior,
Nintendo.
like
Everything was
everything. You couldn't look anywhere.
No, you're playing it on that Nintendo. No, this is an Xbox, Mom.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing. It's a Nintendo. Okay,
and they would call it the Nintendo. They would forget the N at the beginning also.
Oh yeah, that would happen too. Yep.
I loved it when my mom would tell me to turn it off. Like, you need to turn the Nintendo off, and she'd walk away, but I'm playing PlayStation. Comes back an hour later. I thought you'd turn the Nintendo off. It was never on, Mom. I'm playing PlayStation all the time.
I use that argument. She's like, you know what I meant. I'm like,
my favorite one was you're grounded from the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Right. Let me go to my 6K mode and play some Age of Empires. Right? Ground me from that. Yeah. You're grounded from the internet. Well, back then the internet wasn't that big a deal. That's all right. I got other things to play. Oh man, but yeah, like it's just the greatest generation I think I've been through with Nintendo. Might be better than any other gaming generation. It's really tough because, obviously I have a fond affinity for like the SNES and Genesis days, or even like you get into the heydays of like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Wii, DS era. Like that was such a great era. So much great stuff happening across the whole industry. Late 90s. With the N64, GameCube sort of thing happening in the early 2000s, and PC gaming really started to take off. Unreal Tournament, and like so many great eras. But it felt like I got all those eras in a single system.
Yep,
it did. We got so many great remakes too.
Guys,
that made you feel that.
Because I played the latest Civilization game on a Switch.
Yep,
and it didn't suck.
Another huge thing,
and it didn't suck.
I was going to say another huge thing is this generation for me was great because they were pinpoint focused on one console. It wasn't like, because like last generation was the Wii U and 3DS, and I remember when the Switch started, they were still developing for the 3DS. It was just really nice, and I think that goes to why we got or are getting games every month is because they're laser focused on one console. There'll be some overlap with the next one. Like they'll still develop Switch games for a year or two, but it's just really nice to get one console of games.
The Switch family of systems.
Yeah. If it's backwards compatible,
that
it's all good.
Matter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I was also going to mention, obviously you guys like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart.
Sure.
To me, I'm sure we've all played them all. Like this is peak Smash Bros and Mario Kart. These are the best ones.
Oh yeah,
it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah, and
where do they go from here?
When I played it on Wii U, I remember getting Mario Kart the day it came out back in the day when girlfriend and I were playing it, and like, we could not put it down. I'm like, this is literally the best Mario Kart, and nobody's going to play it. And I was so sad. I'm like, this sucks because nobody likes Wii U, and like I have it, and I knew its problems, but I was so happy that it came to Switch. But then it just freaking took off, and then we got the 48 additional tracks. I'm like, my God, like it finally got its time in the spotlight that it deserved. But now it's like, well, what's going to happen with Switch 2? Because again, yeah, it feels like peak on both of their huge evergreen titles.
But you know what hasn't peaked yet?
Hmm.
Pokemon.
So true. That's
Which is
because
wild.
I would chalk that up to
Yeah.
the fact. I know, sorry, Pokemon guy, Pokemon community guy. I would chalk it up to the fact that it's not internal, is because it's technically a different company. But that's a whole other thing. But I
think it could really push the next system though if they finally release peak Pokemon.
Yes.
Snap was peak, but
yep,
it wasn't the Pokemon company.
Yeah.
Bandai, go, baby. Let's go.
Give them the freaking keys.
Give somebody else.
They got dedicated Nintendo teams over there. Let's go.
That's like one of the best looking games on Switch, I think.
Yeah. What Thunder's Snatch was saying though is about like just the peak games though is like when I was going back, I've been like rewatching these old Nintendo Directs as well. Like, I mean, going back to the Smash thing. Oh my God. Like, I just don't remember a time where it was one of those guaranteed things. Like, what's the next Smash character? And we all waited around with bated breath. I mean, people would like freak the fuck out at the Nintendo store and on like those react videos like online about what new Smash, especially when Banjo-Kazooie came out. That was insane. I remember the internet lost its mind over Banjo-Kazooie. Not that it doesn't deserve it, but you know what I mean? Like a game franchise nobody's cared about. I mean, not nobody, but a lot of people.
I cared.
It's not in the public.
Cared.
I should say it's not in the public consciousness.
No, I hear you. I
way to
agree
say
with
it.
you. I know what you're saying.
I'm not saying nobody cared about.
Yeah.
And people lost their fucking shit. It was awesome. So that's why it's just so. And the Switch gave us that, and there's so many other things other than just that. That alone could have carried, a generation. But anyways.
It was wild though. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because the hype around new characters being announced, the invitations going out, that was crazy. And there were so many characters that seriously hit home for me. Like when they announced, Simon, Belmont, and Trevor from Castlevania, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I was so happy. And Banjo as well. Like, I lost my shit for sure when I was at work. And I was like, this is great, man.
The Inkling, that was super cool.
Yeah, there were so many great characters. And I just, I really hope that they've got that part figured out for Switch 2. As far as, what are we going to do here? How are we going to make this just as good or better?
Super Smash Bros. Deluxe Ultimate.
Yeah, Josh is
that I'm a little scared about.
Josh is the Mario Kart guy.
That.
How do you make
that.
Mario Kart better, Josh?
I mean, and I get this question a lot on stream and stuff, but like there could be essentially loadouts, right? They could do the same track with 3 different weather patterns, and you got to pick the right setup to be able to race appropriately. Things like this would help do away with the meta. Like they added all these options, and then one setup is still the best with 5 different characters. Why not just give us one cart at that point and make everybody the same? Because if you go online, what used to be Waluigi Wiggler, that kind of stuff. So they've got to figure out a way to make the game where you can race the meta almost has to go away. I think there's some things they learned from Mario Kart Tour that could actually help, where it's like this setup on this track is the way to do it. So at least you're playing. And if they end up doing a battle pass, and I know people hate that word, some people hate that word, but if we're going to start unlocking costumes and carts and that kind of stuff for the long tail of this series, there's got to be a reason to use it, right? It's like I want to use the skins I'm paying for. So I think the other way too is they turn it more into Smash Kart, where you've got Kirby and Kirby related tracks, and you've got Metroid and you're going to those different planets, right? Like Star Fox Grand Prix finally becomes a thing, like that kind of stuff. Like,
Yep.
there's
started doing it in
That-
Deluxe,
yeah, they kind of dip their toes in the water, and so I think there's and the great thing is that I love the most about this question is that Nintendo gets to surprise us because we get to see what like looks like their very best. And the rumor is this is their most expensive game that they developed yet, the next Mario Kart. And so
really.
Again, I mean, you know how rumors go, right?
Yeah.
So, but and personally, I think the game's been done for a very long time, but how can you stop selling a game that's in the top 10 week after week?
Yep.
That's 10 years old. Like your investors would be like, what are you doing right now? So they make more tracks for it. They sell more NSO for it with it. And then they just, they just continue riding that wave for a long time. But I think the IPs help, they never stop marketing Mario Kart. Go to any retailer at like Walmart, Target. What are you going to see on shirts? Mario Kart.
Yep.
Right. Lego Mario Kart is coming.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what they would do for the next Smash Bros. I think
That's
only
tough. Yeah.
direction I think you could take it is that they go back the melee route. Maybe is like they make it a more like serious version of the game. Maybe keeping the same roster, like, oh no, this one is meant for like the competitive scene. I don't think that'll happen because they fucking hate the competitive scene. But I don't know. I can't. At least me personally, it's like this is one of the weird. Like, I mean, I would love. I'm excited to see what they do, but I don't know how you're gonna sell that game without going even bigger and crazier. I mean, I guess they could do something where they do. I could definitely see like Smash Ultimate Deluxe. Wait, did somebody say that already? Maybe I'm stupid. Did somebody say that like a minute ago?
I did, but keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like that's the only thing. I was just like, wait a minute, my brain just got there. But yeah, I think that's like the only way I could see them going with it is like they port Smash Ultimate and then they just bring more characters in. But I don't know.
But they can improve from rollback on online to where the online is not, because I still do Smash streams and I'm like, hey guys, I can have the person that's in the queue and the person on deck. Nobody else come in here, especially since like it's more worldwide with me now. It seems like a lot of people from the UK and Ireland and that kind of stuff are playing.
And fix some characters, Steve from Minecraft, in the competitive scene, because it is kind of crazy how unbalanced some of the characters are, especially DLC characters. Like I get it's supposed to be party game and it's not supposed to be taken seriously, but like there's a lot of people that like there's entire conventions that the whole point is they go and they play Smash competitively, like whether you like it or not, the scene exists. And
I played at Genesis 6. Like, it's a ton of fun. Like
it is.
It's a ton of fun. That's the only way I play. So the only time I played Spirit Mode is when my chat paid me to jump into Spirit Mode. That was it. Otherwise, it's all competitive. No items, anything like that. But I think it's a simple thing. Is just re-release the game. That's what they did with Ultimate. It's just 4 with more characters. Like it,
true.
It's basically what it is. And just
the characters balancing.
Yeah, just continue to make it a better game and add a bunch more. I'm hoping they wrote in with all their licensing deals the opportunity to re-release all those characters a second time, because that's a huge feat having to go through all that again, I would assume.
So you guys would be down with that?
If it had rollback and played better?
Route?
Yes, please. Like,
I actually would too. I think it's great as it is. Just add more to it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Release the Ultimate version. Smash Ultimate. I don't know.
Yeah.
With all the DLC for 70
too.
Ultimate Deluxe version.
They could get away with 70 for that, I feel. If you include all of the DLC characters.
I think they could too, because it's such an evergreen title for them. For us too, though. Like the replay value, that's a game you buy day one and you will play it until the next one comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be playing it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Still going to be great. So we get our money's worth. Nintendo gets their profits. I think it's a good deal.
But bring back the character reveals like you talked about a little bit ago. And
Definitely.
that already, like they already saw the magic sauce there. Like they would trend on Twitter every character release.
True.
And and it also helps to market some of these other companies' games, right? I mean,
It does.
like
That's how you get games to the Switch. Like, hey, we'll get you in Smash if you
Yeah.
bring your game over. For real. You got to imagine those conversations have a good chance of probably happening behind the scenes.
yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
get Master Chief, get Kratos, bring them all. Let's go. The gang's all here, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on to our last topic we have here before the Q&A session. So over the last week, there's been a lot of speculation about NSO, and I'm saying it's speculation, guys. There's no actual leaks. But NSO update for GameCube, getting GameCube on NSO, whether it's on Switch or Switch 2, and it comes from shipping data. For those who don't know, probably realized this back when we found out, like, if you guys know that 12 gigabytes of RAM is confirmed for Switch 2, came from shipping data. That's when people really started paying attention. There's all these shipping data out in Taiwan and China and all this stuff between Nintendo and their partners that people are tracking now. We get updates for the first week of every single month for 2 months before. So we just had the first week of July, so that we had shipping updates from May. And in those shipping updates, some interesting stuff came up with components that seem to be related to a GameCube controller that's using a similar naming convention to prior NSO controllers. And then if you actually look up the current GameCube controller component numbers, because they re-released the wired controller for Switch and for Wii U. If you look up the component number for that, it actually comes up with brand new components as of May. Have this controller in way more pieces than before, way more modular underneath the hood, which could just be for repair purposes or whatever. Who knows? But it's not like mass quantity orders right now, so this isn't like this is very early stages. If this is anything, it does not mean we're getting GameCube and NSO. It could just mean that they're redesigning the GameCube controller, maybe even possibly to be wireless. We haven't had a wireless officially licensed GameCube controller since the Wavebird, and that's because they lost a lawsuit over the Wavebird. They stole the wireless technology. At least that's what the courts determined, so they can't make that anymore. That's why if you always, why doesn't Nintendo remember the Wavebird bet? They can't. They literally can't. That doesn't mean they can't do a wireless GameCube controller. They just have to do it differently. Obviously, they do wireless controllers all the time. There just isn't one for GameCube. So that could just be all it is. It could be nothing. It's not in mass production. Whatever it is probably still a year at least out. But this kind of brings up the whole question, at least in the conversation around Nintendo Switch Online, like, where do they go next? Because, we know what's on there. We know third-party systems that could still come since they added Sega stuff. We know, okay, the Dreamcast could be possible, or hey, can they make a deal with Atari, get all the old Atari systems on there? And that's cool. But what about Nintendo platforms? Like, where are we going next? And if GameCube is where we go next, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, they're remastering a lot of these games. What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
That's my thing, is that they are remastering so many games. But are they getting those remasters done and out now, so they can have GameCube NSO on the Switch too? What's left to remaster is what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to remaster as much as I want them to Wave Race Blue Storm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be a great NSO title.
Never say never.
I know. I'm just saying because I want it, obviously. I love that. But I think for Switch 2, it would make sense because I do think all these GameCube remasters are done. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get DS. What if you can play the DS and you flip the screen vertically? And
some people were saying, because in the Switch 2 and some of the leaks, there's this thing where there might be magnets involved with the Joy-Cons and stuff. People were wondering, well, hey, what if one of those configs is that you could take the Joy-Cons off and just snap them on sideways for DS and 3DS?
Yeah, exactly.
But you've played DS on your Wii U, I assume, right?
Yeah, but it had two completely separate screens. That's why that worked.
But it had. You could put a DS on your TV and have both screens on there. Like, it would show the actual old school DS, right? I stream Wanted, the old mini game, all the time. Now I do do the setting where I turn the gamepad vertically to do it.
Sure.
But that means we're also going to need a microphone, and they're going to have to essentially, like, we're going to have to do like point and click for what would be a stylus on a lot of those games too.
I mean, you can just drag your finger.
If it was handheld, but if we want to play it on the TV.
Yeah, that's the trick on the TV.
But then I wonder if the controller's not going to be similar to PS5 that has that little touchpad.
Yeah, that could.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of wild because like they obviously did it with Wii U, but Wii U was sort of like the perfect system, and also came with its own stylus as well to kind of make that work. It in handheld mode, I don't really think it's much of a problem. It's just because it's a dockable system. Like, what would you do there? I mean, yeah, obviously you try to use like motion controls, and that would work probably to a certain degree. They'd have to be significantly more accurate than they are on Switch, which could be done. They could put an IR sensor on the dock. It's really all you need, and then you just have the IR camera back on the front like the Wii days. And that technology's come a long way. They can make that super accurate if they want, as long as no one walks in front of you. Which if you're me and have kids, okay, it's not really gonna make a difference. They're gonna walk in front of me the whole time, anyways. My dog too. But it would just be cool if they found a way to bring it back, even if there's like a warning when you open the app, hey, this is only playable in handheld mode. They just say straight up, like, we're not even going to bother with TV mode. It's only available in handheld mode, just to let you know. If you open it up on the dock, hey, please remove your system from the dock to continue. I think that would even end up being okay, because these were originally handheld platforms anyways. So I think they could get away with it.
The streamer in me is screaming right now, just so you know.
Wouldn't be ideal, especially for the streamer in you. It would definitely not be ideal at all. Now you got to buy modified switches that have HDMI outs just to mirror it. Like the 3DS days, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to buy
but what you said might be the answer, though. I mean, we do it with our phones already. Maybe it's just a
mirror mode.
Maybe it's just a mirror mode.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That'd be cool.
That would be neat. Maybe, like, I know this is kind of crazy. What if Nintendo goes with wireless HDMI? Ooh, it's a thing. By the way, it's very finicky, but it does exist. In the world of wireless devices, let's also make our video signal wireless. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Why am I picturing HDMI drift?
Yeah, for real.
It is finicky. It's expensive too.
But like, man, they could do GameCube NSO. There's a lot of really great GameCube classics that as Thundersash said, that I don't know if they'll remaster. Eternal Darkness is
Eternal Darkness. Yeah, top of my head too.
I don't see it happening, just because the GameCube era seems to be what they pull from a lot of the time when they're making remakes. Like even Mario Party, you have GameCube boards and games and stuff. You got Thousand Year Door. I don't know. I just think it devalues it a little bit if you just offer all these, because GameCube games are pretty substantial. Like, they're not like NES games where you can play for like 10 minutes. These are hours and hours. So maybe it would be a perk for the next system, to make people upgrade to that level. But
they might have a new tier on NS.
Yeah,
I'm expecting it.
I don't think GameCube would get added without a new tier.
No.
But
I mean, why would they? Just
like, I can see them keeping like maybe Dreamcast in there at the current expansion packs here. But like, if you start going GameCube level, it's like, okay, GameCube, you want to throw DS in that tier? Fine. Then that's going to have to be like, by the way, I think they're going to restructure anyways. I don't know if they're going to keep it branded as NSO this whole time anyways. I think there will be some sort of restructuring at some point during the Switch 2 era of their subscription model, because, and yes, folks, it means the prices are probably going to go up. I hope you've been enjoying these cheap prices. It wasn't going to stay cheap forever. They had to keep it cheap because there was no value proposition to start with. Like, oh, here's 6 NES games. Give us $20 a year. Like, what? I had like 100 VC games. Why am I giving you money?
I agree. I mean, them adding online play though, has been cool. Like when GoldenEye came out,
some of the GameCube games.
Yep.
Would be sick. Imagine we get like Time Splitters 2.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, with online, that'd be so sick.
I mean, Melee Online alone would be huge.
Melee Online would just be massive. Yeah.
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you guys this.
Then
Okay,
Smash 64.
we mentioned this before weeks ago, probably months ago now. What if the NSO, say GameCube comes out on it? What if they release these games with DLSS? Like, what if they use the DLSS on these games to improve the resolution, the frame rate, maybe add in some light ray tracing? I don't know. But if they actually improve it, because then there's value there. There's more value, right? And it separates it from what being
a $100 a year NSO tier.
I mean, I'm expecting it to go. It's 50 right now, right, for expansion pack, or is it more
For a single?
For a single,
For a
it's
single.
80 for a family.
But
okay.
family's a really great deal if you put 8 people on.
is.
It's a really nice deal.
I'm expecting 70 to 100.
Yeah. I mean, if they especially they do DLSS, upscale, frame rate increase, like
That would be
Yeah.
really sick.
But at that point, wouldn't they just release it as a solo release? Because like Luigi's Mansion 2, they did like the bare minimum with that. That's kind of like what you guys are talking about.
Well, I guess it just depends, because it's like, do they want to hit you once for, $60 or $70, or do they want for you to have that membership for
I
years?
could also argue that once they get to Switch 2, they might be looking at remaking Wii games.
I would argue that too. That's my thought.
I mean, aren't they already ready? I mean, I guess more.
I'm going to tell you right now, why do you think they made 3D All-Stars limited? Oh,
Yeah.
not to be special, because they're going to remake Mario Galaxy on the next system.
Part 2, especially.
Yeah, part
How
2.
many Wii games realistically would you guys want them to?
Twilight
Yeah,
Princess,
massive.
baby, let's go.
I can think of
Take that
two.
one, pal. Come on.
I can't think of many I would want, honestly.
But City Folk and the OG Animal Crossing, if they were to do GameCube,
Oh, yeah. If
Like-
they have the GameCube one, yeah.
I mean,
Right here.
Yeah.
yes,
Punch
please.
Out.
Yeah.
Punch Out, yeah.
Great reason to bring Punch Out back.
Because they're doing Donkey Kong Country. They did Kirby already. Those were two big ones that I would want. Metroid Prime, they're
We have a few
redoing
games
those.
to go through. I mean, any of the original Wii Sports games would be pretty sick. I mean,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Kirby gets remade like every other day, right? So, like,
true.
Smash, probably not gonna happen. We already got this one. Galaxy 2, guaranteed.
Yeah,
We already
that
got
was-
this one.
Galaxy.
See, this list isn't very long, man.
It's not.
Metroid Prime 3.
Trilogy.
I don't know, man. You got
I
Fire
don't think we would get a
Emblem,
remake of these,
Dawn.
but I think we would get a third one. Poke Apart. Poke Apart games are
Yeah,
stellar.
the original No
Again,
More Heroes.
Already got this one.
Where's Red Steel?
I don't have Red Steel, unfortunately.
Damn.
Already got this one.
See, I still think GameCube is way more interesting to remake than Wii.
Well, I mean, we've remade also a lot of the GameCube library. This would be cool
Yeah.
to see. This would be cool to see.
Well, like, as an example,
Old Mario parties would be cool to see.
I
like,
don't know if
games.
3DS games are ever going to get added to NSO.
Oh,
It could happen
3DS.
someday, but it might not. So I'm kind of like thinking you combine that whole gen together, Wii and 3DS. Like, there's a lot of stuff. 3DS
Yeah.
is one of a lot of Nintendo's big games.
Yeah, true.
And they've already brought a couple over. It's like, okay, but there's like a wealth of content to like dive into they didn't even touch on. Because like, look, Nintendo's going to keep remastering and remaking games, and it might just be that there's no specific system. Like right now, it's heavy GameCube,
M&M's Kart Racer.
but like,
That's where Mario Kart goes.
Yeah.
and it might eventually get to the point where like the big thing is bringing old classics and remaking them in 3D, like Stash was talking about with the Zelda stuff. Like that's always an open possibility of just completely reimagining all-time classics. So like Nintendo's going to keep doing remakes and remasters. And that's not going to go away. So I think that there's just a lot to consider with NSO because they can't just not expand it. They're going to run out of stuff. They're already getting kind of thin with some of the libraries on like games people actually care about that they can actually add.
They could get to where we start a subscription service like Game Pass, right? That very much could happen. Where I don't see first party like day one releases happening with them. I think they flex those brand muscles as far as that goes. Well, like Xbox is doing now, I guess. But within that that subscription model, that would bring in your online, that would bring in your past games, and for game preservation, to have the thing that I want the most as a Nintendo fan is to be able to grab any of the Zelda games and play them on a single console without
Amen.
that's say that again.
Switch is very close.
It is. That's the thing.
Yep.
It's so very close. And to be able to say, I want to play, Mario Kart 7 again online because it just worked on NSO, that would be fantastic to me. To play Mario Kart Wii, I have people chomping at the bit all the time, like, yo, could you play Wii? I'm like, it doesn't have online anymore. And they don't even know. They're like, what? It doesn't, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's gone,
2006.
Not officially.
A Pokemon game.
Yeah, right.
be remade or maybe even a sequel to. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to. I cut you off on the screenshot. Go ahead.
Here you go. These are the GameCube. This is the GameCube first party library. So this is, I pulled this screenshot for an episode probably weeks ago and I didn't use it. But
Oh, yeah.
this is what we could potentially get, right? With the GameCube NSO, because these are the first party published games. So
DDR is all I
guys
need.
think?
Yeah.
I mean, you have Animal Crossing on the Cube. I think that would make people happy,
big.
but
Double Dash, amazing, right?
Dude,
Eternal
give me I need the bongos back.
Uh-huh.
Mario World, please.
The
Star
good
Fox
sports
Adventures.
games. Luigi throwing the, on strikers.
Oh, Waluigi, yeah.
Or Waluigi.
Mad over here. What's
That was
going on?
crazy.
What else we got here?
Chibi Robo.
Dude,
Eric
Scott
is
the
mad.
Wall
He's
would throw a
just
fit
said
if you got
fuckers.
Robo.
War.
Fire Emblem.
God damn it. Crystal Chronicles. Give me a goddamn
Dude.
actual good remake of the damn thing.
What if we got
Yeah.
all the Mario parties, all those GameCube era Mario parties?
Those
just
are the best.
available? Oh my god, I would the content I'd have.
Geist on there. We got Advance Wars.
Fire Emblem would be huge because that game is super
We already got
expensive.
Pikmin. We already got. I mean, we don't have Metroid Prime and
Get
2.
TV Robo. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
We got Paper
Four
Mario.
Swords
Nothing to
Adventures,
cut.
baby. Let's go.
Amazing.
Battalion Wars.
Yeah, we're on Star Fox Adventures for sure. I would love to have that.
Assault would be cool.
It would be. I don't know if Nintendo will ever make a snowboarding game again.
We're not.
I mean,
hyped
both of the Pokemon
Giant-
Coliseum games, or Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon XD, those are fantastic games. I mean, maybe not XD. I mean, XD is good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Coliseum is very much it's still in the style and their brand of Pokemon that they would remake that before anything. It's very good.
Kirby's
I mean,
Air
we
Ride.
We don't have Luigi's Mansion 1 on Switch,
We
even
don't,
though it
which
seems
is
like a
a
slam
horrible
dunk.
thing,
We don't.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe it's left out for a reason.
coming back. Switch
Yeah.
Street.
It's not-
They should do it for Switch, honestly.
It's like, hey, you want to play the first one? Sign up for NSO.
It's not first party, but Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Oh, God.
Those
Oh,
games
like,
are
The
right?
best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these classic Star Wars games we just don't have. There's so many good ones on the N64. Get them on Switch.
Right?
Yeah.
What is going on?
I know the era of. Well,
Yeah,
they were.
Star Wars
That's
games
the-
were so good back then. Everything felt great all the way up to KOTOR, and then after that, it kind of started going to crap.
Well, it's when
Yep.
it transferred over. You know what I mean? Disney.
Like, The early days. Oh man,
Dude, when it came out, it was, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Rogue Squadron came out for Cube, it was the demo game before the GameCube launched.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you could go play it at Best Buy, and I swear to you, we
right.
would go there all the time after school and go
Well, I'm
play
sure
that.
it was life changing compared to what was it? Was PS2 out yet? Was GameCube after or before PS2?
After.
after.
It was
Okay.
one
So
year
then I guess-
after.
Just a
So I
year.
guess it wasn't that life changing, but I mean, it still looks. I mean, I would say they look really good though for even gaming at the time. I would say they look fantastic.
Factor 5 was not fair. Those guys
Yeah.
reverse engineered the 64 and the GameCube. If you guys want a little bit of history on all that, listen to IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat episode 196 because it is all about X. It has an X Factor 5. I think maybe the CEO or something. And the way they Nintendo was like, how did you guys squeeze so much juice out of these systems? Yeah.
It's true. They're masters of the craft. 100%.
It's awesome.
What are they up to these days?
when they were doing that episode, which was probably, I mean, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, they were promoting they helped with Hulu. That's why Hulu is on the Switch. And then
Hulu.
And Factor 5 took a bad deal, like some kind of Rogue Squadron 4 is done. It's on a Wii dev kit. It was done.
That.
And then they went under. But they were doing some mobile, like it was like a fish. I think it was like a fish game on mobile. That's what they were trying to promote as they went down memory lane. And
it's hilarious about Hulu being on Switch. I just realized Hulu's got a TV subscription. You can actually watch cable TV through your Switch. And we still can't watch fucking Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Watch live sports too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no shit, because of Hulu.
Very cool.
It's like, wait a second. We have live TV on Switch, but we can't have like the normal streaming services that people actually care about. Nobody talks about Hulu ever outside of it. Oh, it's the only thing you have on Switch besides like Crunchyroll. I'm like, all right, cool.
I wonder if they'll ever get that on Switch too. What do you think? You think they'll try again?
Oh, I'm sure they'll probably get.
Well,
they'll try to get most.
We know for Netflix, it was definitely a contract dispute because Reggie pointed the finger at Netflix, and they pointed the finger right back at Reggie. So that was definitely a contractual money split dispute there. I don't know if there was a bad experience with Netflix with the prior system, but dude, they had Netflix on 3DS. I mean,
yeah,
we had to get the disc and put it in your Wii. Remember?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of projectors don't include, like, that have TV iOS. The one thing they're missing is Netflix, and I've always read it was because of some sort of contractual dispute over, the cost of it.
But
so it's very interesting.
They'll get the app though. That's the thing. It was still available. It just didn't come included. Like
exactly.
But even then, like my thing is like, okay, that was Netflix. Fine, I get their sticklers, but like, there's no Prime Video either. There's no Disney Plus. By the way, Disney owns Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I'm really confused. Like, why? And the argument, I guess, a lot of people always say, well, Nintendo's just focused on this being a gaming device. I'm like, okay, but now they got movies. They got movies.
Yeah, Netflix got Mario quick.
Yeah, real quick. It was over on Peacock exclusively for a little bit, and then bam, over to Netflix. Why? Because they're probably a fat check wrote, and it's still in the top 10 on Netflix right now. It's still in the top 10, and not for overall anymore, but for kids movies, it's still in the top 10. It's like, dude, like Nintendo knows there's huge audiences for their stuff, and like, I don't know. I think that you gotta remember we're under new leadership today. I think there might be some negotiations might have already happened to maybe get these streaming services back, because it feels weird to not even have them as an option. Now out of all the companies, could Nintendo be the one that tells them all to F off and we actually don't even have Hulu? We have nothing on Switch 2? Sure. That is possible. But I do think that some people do see it as a value add. Some kids play the device. Sometimes parents let them have that instead of a tablet. So let them watch their kids' movies on there.
Yeah.
Heck, I know Yuli at times, she just doesn't want to switch HDMI ports. She wishes, my Switch is up already. Let me just tap on this and watch. Like, so it's just a convenience thing. It's not like we don't have a billion ways to watch all this stuff. Yeah, of course we do. If you have a phone, you already got like the number one way most people watch everything. So I think I got to figure something out, man. I know it's just multi-billion-dollar corporations all yelling at each other, but can we just do something nice for the consumers? It'd be great.
It's like arguing over regional.
That's what it is. It's take our money. Is the nice thing.
The Wii U had Netflix too, right? I remember watching it on there.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, have Netflix. Yeah.
And did you know you could put the Wii disc in and still use the Wii mode on Wii U to watch Netflix?
Oh my god!
I tested it just for fun. I'm like, oh, I don't need the disc anymore. It says no, insert the disc. Okay, so I insert the disc. Still fucking works with the disc on the. Yeah, I remember the Wii U guys. They literally put a Wii inside of it.
Yeah,
so it functioned exactly like a Wii. You just had to reboot your system. Oh man!
Really quick PSA: leave those things plugged in.
Yeah,
your Wii U's.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. I heard about that.
That's why I have my Wii U plugged in. That's why I own a GameCube and a Wii U, not a Wii. Well, I have a Wii back there, but I don't know.
By the way, they don't make replacement parts anymore, so something breaks. Aftermarket.
Go to order. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the end of support for Wii U, and Nintendo won't even fix them anymore.
Did you guys buy any replacement 3DS batteries before they sold out?
No.
They were selling them for dirt cheap. Wario 64 was posting about it, and I picked up 2 because I'm like, they're like $5-6.
I didn't
Stockpiled
buy
some.
like extra, but I had recently, because my battery was actually swollen in my 3DS, so I got it replaced semi recently. It was like a year ago at this point. So yeah. So I have a new battery, thankfully, but yeah, I was kind of baffled. I was like, whoa, it's like the whole, I mean, it was swollen. I was like, whoa, that's wild. Anyways.
Yeah, let's get to some of the questions we had submitted. Remember, guys, if you have any questions when you're watching live, you can super chat them in as little as $2 to get featured on the show. We have this one from Taker610 saying, after N64, we stopped marketing system on bits. I mean, for a while, we were calling GameCube the 128.
Right.
Well, we were supposed to get it.
I don't know if that was that us saying that or Nintendo.
Well, they had that tech demo. The Mario 128 tech demo.
Mario 128, yeah, okay.
So they started it.
There was still a little bit of Nintendo marketing with bits for GameCube, and then just nothing after that.
Yeah, I recall a Dreamcast talking about 128 bits.
3 bits? So 3DS wasn't 3 bits?
They were marketing in dimensions at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of crazy that like Nintendo people are like, oh, they didn't care about power. They used to market off bits. Like they were marketing power. So like that, you know, I remember the blast processing. Like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You keep doing that. A different day, man. Did the Sega Nintendo war and the ads was great. I miss those days.
I did.
God, they shit on each other so bad.
Yeah.
If you ever go watch some of the old Nintendo ads about, how much better Nintendo is than Sega. Like everyone knows, the Sega does what Nintendo don't ads. That's fine. But the Nintendo ones, dude, they were saying some savage things that like you guys think Nintendo, M-rated, dude. They were M-rated in what they were saying about Sega in the Mega back in the day.
Play it loud.
I just remember Crash Bandicoot with the megaphone
in Redmond.
That was one of the best.
That was great.
So good.
We needed him in Smash so bad with that.
Oh, that would have been great.
Oh,
we talked about that last week. How we would love to see Crash get into Smash.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
Yeah, especially now that Crash is like on Nintendo systems fully. Like it's just time. Yeah.
Well, and he's technically Xbox property now, right?
Yeah, probably the next one.
Yeah.
Probably the next one he'll probably get in. Or if they port and do more character things, who knows? All right. Next up, we got let's see here. Oh, yeah, we had a gifted member by Boo Mini. Just want to make sure I recognize that. Thank you so much, Boo Mini, for gifting a member. I think it went to I don't remember who it went to. No, I don't know why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Ice Sonic said, who is MEO? I think can be something that will surprise us all. Nintendo already has dark stuff in their games, a creative company with an M rating. I love the upside down smile.
Yeah.
Kind of perfect. Yeah, I think that's what people are excited about. One, it's an M-rated game published by Nintendo. There's not a lot of those. Bayonetta is really the only one they've been publishing lately. We don't know who's making it, so that adds mystery to it. We don't know what's going on, and now we know it's super dark, like really dark,
extra
themes.
dark.
So, don't know, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see the first game. I'm really worried the first time they show gameplay for it, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this isn't that great." But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's just shocking, surprising, and it keeps you guessing. And then it comes out and it's reviewing in the 90s, and you're like, what is going on? I don't know. I guess you got to find out who is MEO.
Yeah.
Quick correction from chat to Toys for Bob is now independent. Like,
yeah, Toys for Bob is independent, but Microsoft still owns Crash. Yeah, Microsoft kept all the IPs, guys, if you didn't know. Yes, it is. Yes, Toys for Bob announced they're working on a new Crash. That's because their first game as an independent is a contract with Microsoft. But yes, the Toys for Bob doesn't own Crash. Still, so Microsoft let them go. Like, I wish, by the way, it actually makes me wonder, they let Toys for Bob, just, hey, go independent. do your thing, but we're going to keep all the IPs. But we'll give you your first contract. Did they extend that maybe to Tango, and Tango's employees said no? Like, give them an option to be independent. Be like, hey, look, we're going to close you anyways. You guys want to like be your own thing? We just keep the IPs. I wonder if like the employees were like, no. Because it feels weird they did it for Toys for Bob and then not for any other studio that they supposedly closed down. I'm very curious, like if we ever find out emails behind the scenes or something leaks out where it's kind of like, hey, no, they were given the chance to be independent. The employee said, no, we're not interested. Just give us our severance and we'll move on with our day. You don't know? Who the hell knows?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Because I just find it just feels so weird to be like, oh, we're closing these studios, but we let this one just go and be independent. Like, it feels weird. Boo Mini. And you're saying, how upset would you be if Nintendo never remakes Ocarina of Time? Whatever's irritated, fuming, pitchfork level.
I'd be at whatever because I've played it on PC. I got it running at 120 frames.
Hey, you got that PC native port that's shouldn't exist, but Nintendo hasn't stopped it yet.
Yeah, I have it. I have it. I got it backed up.
Yeah. See what happened to Fioro. You're next.
Honestly, it's amazing. It is amazing, and that is a great way to play it if you can. I'm not promoting that, but you know,
a form of piracy.
I mean, I own the game. I own it physically.
We're not talking about morals here.
So yeah, I'm just playing it at 60 frames.
Lots of people have played it. I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't shut it down yet. I'm actually kind of shocked. You know what? It also makes me think Nintendo's never bringing the fucking thing to PC, and that's why they don't care.
Yeah,
like we're just never doing it. So whatever.
I think I'd be more surprised and shocked rather than upset because it seems such an obvious like next game or next big game.
Like it seems obvious because it's so critically acclaimed. It would shut everyone up about, oh, Nintendo doesn't care about their classic Zelda games. And look, I mean, of the 3D games, it was the first one, and it's the one that needs the remake the most.
Yeah.
And I just beat Ocarina of Time earlier this year on live stream, and just a great game.
Yeah,
like it
really is.
It just needs to be updated. It needs to be modernized. You know, the controls are a little wonky, and cameras are a little, whatever. But God, there's so much good stuff in that game, man. If they just remade that thing. Here's the thing: people that are always like against it are always like, well, they could ruin it. I'm like, yeah, they could, but nothing ruins the original.
It doesn't.
Like remakes and remasters, they don't ruin the original experience. Still exists. Play it right on NSO. It's right there. No one took that from you. It's just this is like for a new audience that ain't gonna go back and replay these old games because they just look at them and go, "Oh, yuck!" They don't even play new modern stuff. Cool. Let's modernize it for you. Let's introduce a whole new guys. There's like 30 million Zelda fans now. Let's introduce them to what Zelda was for us. Like that sounds like a badass idea, even if it's not quite everything it once was. It's okay. But then there's also me just going, dude, fully remade from the ground up. I get to walk into Hyrule Castle Town that first time.
Yeah.
That's going to be sick. I'm going to go across that rainbow bridge. And I'm going to be like, oh my God. The spectacle alone is good enough, even if they screw up the gameplay. I just want to see it. I'm tired of the Unreal Engine fan remakes. I want to see what Nintendo does with this bad boy.
I really would love to see him take the Final Fantasy VII remake route with Ocarina of Time, because what they've done to stay true to the original has been amazing. Come from, I played Final Fantasy VII when it came out, and from that to what I see now is just mind blowing. And I know the same thing could be done here. I just know it can. And that's why I'm like, I gotta wonder if this is coming out on Switch too, man. They came out around the same time. I think Final Fantasy VII came out in 97? Zelda 98. It's time, man. It's the highest rated game of all time. I mean, we all know that, right? It's the highest reviewed game of all time. Still.
It's awesome.
I just looked it up. 99 overall on Metacritic. Still number one. You
Huh?
got to modernize it.
It'd be sick, man. I just look. I'm not going to be like upset if it never happens because Nintendo hasn't really shown that they're willing to do from the ground up remakes. Because the big thing is it's got to be from the ground up. If it's just HD, yeah, they do that all the time. Got to be from the ground up. They don't do from the ground up remakes hardly ever. Let alone they haven't done one this drastic yet, where they're really bringing back a classic to modernize. That hasn't happened before with Nintendo yet. So it's kind of a man, this would probably be the first and biggest one they've done. I think I'd just be excited if it was happening, but not disappointed if it didn't. More like I would feel like it's a missed opportunity if they didn't. Because if you're going to bring any back and give it that treatment, this is the one that makes the most sense to do it with. You could argue Twilight Princess could make a lot of sense too, because that's another one that kind of feels like it needs a from the ground up, and is the before Breath of the Wild was the best-selling Zelda game. But again, I think you could find a way to modernize Ocarina of Time, and I mean, a modernized Ocarina of Time, I think, might have modern sales potential as well.
I do too.
And it could create a whole new mindset. Like you classic fans that want more linearity, you should want something like this to happen, because I think that's the game that could really drive the hype. So it's more like I'd just be really excited for it to happen. Disappointed if they never do it. Do I expect them to?
Eventually.
Sometime they'll do it someday. I might not be alive. Might be 50 years from now, but someday, yeah.
Yeah.
In the chaos that is eternity, it'll be remade one day.
And then use the same engine for Majora's Mask remake.
Yeah, that's the most exciting.
True.
Once they do Ocarina of Time, it's like you have everything now set up for Majora's Mask. That'd be great. Oh, Final Fantasy VII thing too, because I really enjoy Final Fantasy remake. Because it's not really a remake, but it is a remake. But it's not a remake if you actually play it and get through the story. It's actually a whole new tale. But they fooled your asses.
And it's a spectacle.
But
that game is a spectacle.
Yes, it is. Does anyone think Remake's better than Rebirth? I found Remake to be a bit better than Rebirth.
Is Remake's the first one, right?
Remake's the first one.
Yeah, that's the consensus I've been hearing. I haven't played it, but I was listening to the Besties pod, and they kind of said the same thing, where like it just feels like those little open world pockets of a shit ton of side quests just like really deflate the momentum. Like the highs are really high, but the lows are really low, is what I've heard about Rebirth. Or yeah,
there's some good spectacles still in Rebirth, but I don't know. I don't know if it just lost a little luster. But,
yeah. I gotta go with Rebirth over Remake.
Okay,
but love them
really
both. Love them both, man.
Yeah, it's like comparing children. Like they're awesome.
It is.
But like
exactly
like the first one, little preference. And nothing replaces the firstborn.
Nope.
They were always the first. The second's better behaved, but the first. I learned from my fuck ups of the first. Anyways, if you're a parent, you just know. Yeah, I love all my kids; they're awesome. But parents make mistakes too, and we're always learning ourselves. All right, I think that's all we had then for the Q&A session. So that's awesome. All right, let's just go around the room quick and let people know what we got going on, where they can find us. Tease some upcoming content. That's always welcome as well. And yeah, we'll head on out of here. Be back next week. Just glancing. We got Favlam's back next week. HMK, the hype man's coming on, and Paul Gale Network. So there we go. We got a nice little round out next week. All right, let's go around the room. Favlam, what do you got going on? Where the hell can people find you, Mr. Stream Everywhere guy?
Yeah, I'm Favlam. I stream on Twitch primarily. You can also find me on YouTube now. I'm being very adamant about YouTube Shorts, YouTube videos. A lot of variety stuff. I'm going to also start doing more like Nintendo, just like my opinion pieces, basically. which I know a lot of you guys like that because you're subscribed to Nintendo Prime. But yeah, feel free to drop me a subscribe. My YouTube channel. I really want to get my YouTube channel monetized, so we're getting there. We're really close. So I appreciate you guys for that. Oh, and I'll be playing Luigi's Mansion 2 and beating it in one sitting tomorrow. So have fun. That'll be fun.
N64 Josh.
Yeah, you guys can find me everywhere at N64 Josh, and the Nintendo Powercast is the pretty much daily podcast. And some of the new stuff we've got going on is I've started NPC Ladies Night, and so every Tuesday I have a number of ladies that jump in, and it's been a ton of fun. Like just getting very different perspectives, and also like we just did like what were your 5 deserted island games, and like the first game was Simpsons Hit and Run. I was like, I love this. Like, you know, like it was fantastic. So that's been a ton of fun. I'm only teasing something right now, but there's going to be something very Metroid related coming out. I essentially did a test run. I'm very pleased with everything. I just have to rework the writing. And so I did a lot of research today on some of the other Prime hunters. And so that's all I'll say as of now. But if you're a Metroid fan, I think basically the few people that I had listened to the first little tests literally were like, I want to go buy Metroid Prime now. Like I like they had not played Metroid Prime yet, and they were like, I need to go play Metroid Prime after hearing this. So yeah, so I'm really excited.
Sounds awesome. You know, let me just say, I want to say I listened to your podcast with the ladies' night. That was good. It was funny. I was at the gym. I was listening to it. I was hearing them talking about Michael Jackson's Experience, the game. I was laughing. Like I literally started laughing out loud at the gym when that was dropped. Like, what? That's hilarious. I was like, I've never played it. I remember when it came out, and I'm like, God, do I need to play this?
Dude, the fact it comes with like the bedazzled glove is it's just the cherry on top. It's so good.
Yeah, it was really good though. I enjoyed it. So good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nintendo Talk, what you got going on?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Nintendo Talk, mostly YouTube, streaming live on there. Just launched a new podcast that's available pretty much everywhere you'll listen to podcasts. The Slow Burn Podcast, the one Nate wants to be on.
I like it slowly burned.
It's all cozy games, cozy like farm games, cozy games. And we're talking about having a game developer on for a nice little interview.
Hell yeah.
So,
nice.
Should be good.
I'd like to get a game dev on here to interview. I'm afraid of what I'd to ask them though. That's maybe why they don't want to come on. We're not all cozy over here, so.
Do developers want to talk to fans though? Probably not.
Depends. There's some companies.
On certain things.
A lot of indie ones are always usually willing to talk a lot. I had one time there was something I was working on with Ubisoft at one point for Mario plus Rabbids, but it didn't really work out. The thing is, I'm a Nintendo channel. Can I get any Nintendo dev to come on? No, it's all right.
X Nintendo, maybe.
X Nintendo, yeah. We've had King and Krista on a couple times. Not on this show, but on the old show. See if we can ever get them on again. I don't know. They stopped responding. I don't think they like me anymore. Eric.
Yeah.
Anything you want to tease?
No.
No.
For all you listeners out there,
I need to go change the thumbnail on this thing.
Eric is now nude, listeners. So
head to YouTube
audio
fast
listeners, love you to do that
before it gets taken down.
Right.
Eric's shirt is missing.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah,
That's a new game.
I'm here. That's where you can find me.
He's here most of the time. At some point coming up, he won't be here for like a week or two. I don't know when.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's all random.
Yay, work.
But yeah, happens. We got Thunderstash Gaming. What do you got going on, man?
Yeah, you guys know where to find me, Thunderstash Gaming. And I did just post a video. Was it Sunday? Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Played it. on the Super Nintendo, which, as we all know, it never came out on the Super Nintendo. This is an unofficial port, but the work was very good. It feels 100% official, actually. And then I started playing, and I was just going to do a playthrough. I was like, you know what? I got to beat Tyson. Like, I got to beat him. I know I can. I've done it on regular Nintendo, but it's been a very long time. Anyone who's beat Tyson, you know it takes a lot of practice and muscle memory. So I ended up, playing it longer than I wanted to, but I beat Tyson. I TKO'd him, and you got to get a TKO because winning by decision does not feel the same as knocking Tyson down. So it was really fun. I just posted that video. You should check it out. And I also included Mike Tyson knockout highlights in the video because I thought about him. Like, there's a whole generation that doesn't know about Iron Mike. So you should check that out.
Did you get Nintendo thumb from playing it that long? Like, were you on it?
Yes.
I love it.
100%. Yeah, there was a point when I was recording and, obviously I cut some footage. And as I was cutting it, I see myself just looking down at my thumb and just looking at it like, oh my God. So yeah, 100%, dude. I was getting into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm Nate from Nintendo Prime. Obviously, most of the audience knows what's up because I'm the host of the show. But like, if you're looking for teasers of anything coming up, like obviously, I always like to tease the next episode. I already talked about the guests earlier. HFK, Paul Gale Network, Favlam coming back. We'll see what happens for episodes after that. I got N64 Josh here's coming back on in August, I believe, on the 21st is what I've got written down right now. Super Mario Dave coming on later this month as well. Nintendo Land, unless he cancels again, I have no idea. He's supposed to be coming on later this month, so I don't know. We're filling up the guest list here for the next few months. But besides that, we're finally getting back into the swing of things. Apologize to my audience. 18 videos over the span of 50 days is not me. That is an imposter. That is changing. We just got a video up today. Obviously, like, we had to talk about the breaking news, right? The breaking news, the new.
That's still good, dude. 18 in 50 days. That's great.
And I used to do 40 and 30. So I'm a news channel. So, like,
that's true.
It's a daily thing. There's news every day. Anyways, but one thing I will bring up is, if you guys might remember VG News, some of you more hardcore Nintendo Prime fans, we ran there for about a month. It's been on hiatus due to trying to find like the right editor and trying to make things work. I might be narrowing that down here. Don't want to say it's going to be coming back in August, but I'm going to do some test runs with an editor soon. And it's a Friday show. That's the plan for this to be a Friday news recap of everything gaming. Way more professional setup. And if you guys ever saw VG News, you understand what that's like. There's a few little jokes, but it's very, like, for people that always bitch that, oh my God, 10-minute video when there was only 1 minute of news. It's like, okay, well, this is like a 40-minute video, but it's also like 17,000 stories. So, there you go. But yeah, so we'll see on that one. But I just wanted to give people an update that actually some things are moving forward potentially with that. If this editor doesn't work out, that's all right. I might reach out to one of the other applicants who had a really neat idea to maybe make things work. And we'll see there. Otherwise, we're just getting back to covering daily news, man. We're just getting back into it. I want to start mixing in. My goal is to have a news video in the morning, a discussion video in the afternoon. Woo-hoo. That's the idea. But, I don't have anything written down for discussion videos ideas right now. We'll get that taken care of. I just got over being sick. You guys might have saw me cough a little bit during the show. I've had a cold. I've had a bunch of crap. Came off vacation. We are now ready to go full board the rest of the summer. So be ready. Be ready. If you are sick of Nintendo Prime already, I deeply apologize. You'll want to unsubscribe right now. Because your feed's going to be full of a prime time. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll catch you same time next week.